Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Tiberium Wars 1 vs. 1 random-only tournament for July of 2015, hosted proudly by GameReplays.org. My name is Spartacus, and we're in for some excellent action here today. So a couple of things to note before we get started. All the links referred to in the cast are available in the description of the video, so just click that Show More button beneath the video to follow along with our broadcast for today. Additionally, all music heard during this broadcast, including the wonderful stuff that you're hearing right now, is courtesy of both Zircon and Little V Mills, so if you enjoyed the music you hear today, please be sure to check out their respective websites, which are linked in the description below. Furthermore, if you find yourself bored during the downtime we'll inevitably have in between games or series, feel free to click on the I button in the top right of your video screen for direct links to past events and single game commentaries on my channel. And finally, I would like to take the time to remind everyone that tomorrow, which will be Sunday, July 12th, 2015, I will be casting the Kane's Wrath 1 vs. 1 community tournament at 1200 GMT, so it's an hour earlier than the time that we're starting here today. And you can find the link to that broadcast right on my main channel page, and I look forward to seeing you guys all there. So with that out of the way, let's discuss the specifics of today's random-only tournament, 1 vs. 1. It's going to be on Tiberium Wars. I'm looking forward to it. I haven't seen Tiberium Wars in a little while, and you guys are going to be seeing that a lot more frequently on my channel. So with that said, all of our games here today are going to be played as best of 3 until the semifinals, which will be a best of 5 series, and concluding with the third place and finals matches as best of 7 series. And with that said, I don't know that we're going to be starting with a round of 32. I don't think we've got necessarily enough signups. I haven't checked the bracket just yet. But let's just run through the starting maps for each of the rounds individually. So in the event that we have a round of 32, the starting map will be Tournament Arena. For the round of 16, it will be Tournament Dust Bowl. For the round of 8, that will be Tournament Tower. That's going to be the quarterfinals. And then the round of 4, which will be the semifinals, that will kick off on Pipeline Problems. And then our round of 2, which is the finals and third place match, that will be kicking off on Tournament Coastline. I'm really looking forward to everything that we've got going on today. It's looking like we've actually got a pretty decent turnout considering that it's Tiberium Wars. You know, typically we get a little bit lower count as far as players in comparison to events that we host for Kane's Wrath. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. We've got a lot of guys that are out there, and I know there's a decent number of names there that definitely look familiar. So I'm expecting some pretty good competition here today. And the thing that I love about it is it's going to be random only, so it's anybody's game. It will be the best player who gets more or less the best luck today as far as faction choice and you know, the map pairings and things like that. It should be very interesting to see how things shake out. So with that said, we're going to be taking a minor break, I believe. Let me check to see if the brackets are posted just yet. Yeah, it doesn't look like they are just yet. So I think I jumped the gun a little bit getting started at this time, but figured you guys would rather listen to me talk than just sit there and stare at a black screen that just had a countdown. So with that said, we're going to be taking a very short break, and I'll be joining you guys in the chat, just kind of hanging out. Something to keep in mind, there are some big improvements to the YouTube live streaming world, so if you guys are not aware of that, be sure to head over to... Oh, geez, what's the URL? I'm sorry, I should have known this before I brought it up. I think it is gaming.youtube.com. I think it is just a landing page for the time being. Yeah, it is. But long story short, they're improving their live streaming service substantially, and it's gonna be able to compete with Twitch, and I'm really looking forward to it. Being somebody that's been streaming on YouTube for a considerable amount of time now, I'm really looking forward to them making some adjustments and some much-needed upgrades to their system. And they've already made some adjustments behind the scenes, which I'm able to access. You guys can't see that from your screens, but it's really awesome. I can set it up so I can actually just stream, you know, like I would on Twitch. I just click start on my my encoder software here, which would be Open Broadcaster software, and it immediately starts streaming. So it's really cool. All this stuff is still in very much a work in progress, so we'll have to see how things shake out as time goes on, but I'm really looking forward to the improvements that are being made, and they're being made very rapidly at this point, so definitely looking forward to it. But with that said, let's take a quick break, and I'll bring you guys right back into the action once the brackets are posted. Alright everybody, so the brackets have been posted. I have updated the link for the bracket down in the description of the video. Apparently there was an issue with the last bracket, so we have a new one up and running, so be sure to check that out. But with that said, let's pull up the bracket now and take a look at it. So I believe we're starting with a round of 32, so that means more than 16 players have signed up, I believe. At least I have to imagine that's what it means. So yeah, I'm honestly not sure. I'm assuming that to be the case. This bracket looks kind of funky, so let's try to walk through it here, but we will be... Let's see if we actually have any games down here. Yeah, it doesn't look like we have any games of the round of 32, so maybe I'm mistaken. It looks like it's going to be kicking off in the round of 16. Apologies, everybody. There was a little bit of a mishap behind the scenes here, so we've actually been dealing with that in the backside of things, and it has been rectified, so... looking at this now, it's going to be kicking off on Tournament Tower. That's going to be the round of 16. We have Shocktreatment getting a free win out of the round of 16, so he's going to be passing right along onto the quarterfinals. Then after that, we have Monster Tamer facing off against Unknown, 2 game replays, senior level staff, so they're going to be facing off against one another. That should be an interesting series. I may try to jump into that one. Down below that, we have Sjon or Sjon. I was looking at his name in the lobby, and I was like, I know I'm going to get it wrong. I know I'm going to get it wrong. So if you guys know how to pronounce it, tell me in the chat. But I'm pretty sure it's Sjon? I'm going to call him Sjon. He's getting a free win out of the round of 16. And down below that, we have Studio facing off against Ryaz Grimori. That's going to be a tongue twister all day. But Studio, I expect him to come out on top there. I'm not familiar with Ryaz, but Studio I know is a pretty good Tiberium Wars player, so I'm looking forward to it as I stutter a little bit here. Down below that, we have Bert getting a free win out of the round of 16, and below that, we have AngelOfDeath facing off against Training Account, and Training Account, I believe, is Luvaskot, so that should actually be a pretty intense match as well. Luvaskot, a very good Tiberium Wars player as well, so looking forward to seeing how these guys shake things out. TS Chongo going to be facing off against The Flash, or Jenny Brie. That should be an interesting game. I don't know either of those two players, so I'm interested to see how they end up moving along through here. And then we also have AdamLallana getting a free win out of the round of 16, another name that I've become a little bit more familiar with over time here. I'm not terribly familiar with skill level, but hey, we're going to be running through it all the same here today. So Tiberium Wars action on the cards. That's going to be our round of 16. That's going to be kicking off momentarily, everybody, so be sure to stick around. Alright guys, just wanted to give you a quick update, a couple of things. We are dealing with some technical difficulties this morning as far as some connection issues with players not being able to connect to one another in-game, and I'm also dealing with some technical issues as far as my my hotkeys, so occasionally you'll see me like pop the screen up and then pull it back down. It's because my hotkeys for in-game and OBS in-game and OBS have kind of overlapped, so I may be messing around with my hotkeys a little bit. I do apologize for that. I had to change a couple things around because iTunes really screwed with the way that they do their hotkeys, and I have no way of changing the bindings there. So it's one of those annoying things. I apologize. It's something that I wasn't prepared for this morning, and I have yet to find a good alternative for it. So we're just gonna kind of have to sludge through it, and hopefully I can catch it before it becomes too much of a problem. But we should be good to go. Just waiting for these guys to be able to connect. If they're not able to connect, I'll probably just jump into game number 2 of another set of series that's going on. We'll see. I'm honestly not sure, so not getting off to the greatest of starts, but hey, that's okay. We're here to have some fun, and we'll definitely be jumping into the action the moment it becomes available, so be sure to stay tuned. Alright everybody, so a quick update. There were some connection issues between the two players that I was looking to jump into for game number 1. So instead of sludging through that with them, I'll leave them to be with the moderators here and actually jump into game number 2 of the series between Angel of Death and Luvaskot. Right now it is 1-0 in favor of Luvaskot, and we're going to be jumping straight into game number 2. So that's coming up right now, so be sure to stay tuned. Alright everybody, and welcome to game number 2 of this best of 3 round of 16 series, and that brings us to the map Tournament Dust Bowl. And spawning in the north of this very laggy screen for some reason, as the pink screen, we have Luvaskot. And then down below as the yellow vanilla nod, I don't know why I say vanilla, it's gonna be Angel of Death. So Angel of Death versus Luvaskot. It is a best of 3 series. Luvaskot is up 1-0. We did see double barracks coming out from both players, so Interesting move here. Obviously, we're on Tiberium Wars, so things are going to be a little bit different. We have the Buzzer Swarms coming forward here from Luvaskot, going to be looking to overtake the Militant Squads here from Angel of Death. It's looking like he should be able to clean them all up, and he should get an Engineer for his trouble as well, despite the valiant efforts here from Angel of Death to keep his squads alive here. And Luvaskot going to be claiming a Tiberium Spike here on the left-hand side. Let's take a look over on the right, and I just realized, nope, that's the wrong button. Oh, key bindings, everybody, key bindings. Good times. So Luvaskot actually coming out on top on both sides here. He's going to get 2 Engineers. That's massive. 2 Engineers here going down for Angel of Death early on. That's pretty significant to lose, especially at this stage in the game. And I mean, he's already down 1-0, so Luvaskot's going to be feeling real good going forward into this game. Could potentially be closing this one out 2-0. The onus is really on Angel of Death now to make something happen. He is considerably behind in terms of economy as he lost all of his scouts as well as his 2 engineers. And Luvaskot obviously grabbing both of those Tiberium Spikes is going to give him a significant economy advantage, because Tiberium Spikes in this game, they give you those 25 credits a second, so that's an additional 15 on top of the 10 you would get in Kane's Wrath. So a couple of scouts here from Angel of Death making it into the base of Luvaskot. They're going to get cleaned up by a Buzzer Hive drop there, so nice move from Luvaskot to actually clean them out, but also nice scouting from Angel of Death. I mean, he knows he's behind, and getting those scouts into the base of Luvaskot's going to really be important for him at this stage of the game. He does lose another scout there as we see the base creep coming out from Luvaskot. So, oddly enough, Luvaskot actually a little bit behind in terms of his refinery drop, so quite know what caused that, but Angel of Death already dropping his 2nd refinery on his expansion. And we can see the base creep is real, so I would actually be a little bit shocked to see the MCVs moving too much in this game, as it pays dividends not to move it. But Raider Buggy just coming out, more than likely just going to be anti-scouting here, just going to be cleaning up that Buzzer, just getting it out of his own Tiberium field, and that should be going down here with one more shot. There it goes. So pretty lackluster early game here, despite Luvaskot really claiming an early victory with those 2 engineer snipes, and actually Angel of Death managing to run himself a lone member of a militant squad through the expansion of Luvaskot, and he's going to be really happy with that. He's going to be getting good eyes on what's going on here for Luvaskot. He's going to know exactly what type of build he is going for, and it is of crucial importance to scout in Tiberium Wars. I would say even more so than in Kane's Wrath. I don't know about, you know, it necessarily being exactly more so important than in Kane's Wrath, but quite sure what I'm even trying to say. It's very important in Tiberium Wars just because we see a lot of divergence in builds, though we do end up seeing a lot of spammy action here. Obviously the economies get rolling out of control, and then they just start spamming off of 5 or 6 different warp spheres or war factories depending on the faction here, but going to be a decent number of Seeker tanks here. Going to be catching out a couple of Scorpion tanks that have managed to stray away from the pack here, but you need to be careful. The Seeker tanks obviously a lot less tanky than those Scorpion tanks, and we'll have to see if the numbers advantage really ends up working out in favor of Luvaskot. Angel of Death, he's got a decent number of Scorpion tanks here, but the concave from Luvaskot is actually pretty good, and the focus fire is actually paying off pretty well. Luvaskot, he's got a decent number of Seeker tanks that are pretty heavily damaged here. You may want to call those back instead of just losing them straight up, but honestly, he's probably just W moving all of his Seeker tanks forward just to keep them together. Lightning Spike coming down for Luvaskot, that's going to be, or rather, yes, from Luvaskot, that's going to be adding quite a bit of extra damage, and he's going to be looking to trade effectively with these Scorpion tanks. The trick from Angel of Death is he's got to kite in and out here, make sure he's focusing down these Seeker tanks, and then also getting repairs from the War Factory. That's the advantage that he really has right now. It doesn't appear as though that's being... Oh, okay, we have a DC. Okay, looks like we're back. Okay, minor DC there, but Luvaskot, he is coming forward, and he is looking very, very strong right now. He's continuing to put the pressure on Angel of Death. Scorpion tanks being pumped out on the front lines, but they're being milked almost straight away. And now the numbers are starting to roll out of control here for Luvaskot, and the Lightning Spike sitting on the back lines just continuing to do damage. Looks like all of the Harvesters have been cleaned up here as well, unless they've actually been pulled off the line. I'm not sure. Looks like an operations center or a tech center. I'm not sure where that came from, to be honest, but we do have the Black Hand Squad rolling forward. Looks like tech center is down for Angel of Death, so he's got an obelisk here on the front lines, which will one-shot those Seeker tanks. He's going to be cleaning these guys up pretty quickly, but again, it's going to be a matter of not losing too many of these Harvesters, and he's losing a lot of Harvesters. And once all of those Harvesters go down, I mean, Luvaskot is just going to end up going out of control in this game. And yeah, he's looking very strong right now, forcing out a second obelisk from Angel of Death. So that's a lot of money expended in base defenses. He's also dealing with some power issues. Not to mention that Lightning Spike is still alive. That Black Hand should be killing that off right now. But it looks like actually the Lightning Spike is being microed to kill off another power plant. So Luvaskot may be looking to capitalize here by taking out some infrastructure that's a little bit less defended here from those obelisks. But that power plant going to be going down. So some serious power issues here for Angel of Death. We do have an avatar going to be joining the fight here for Angel of Death. But I mean, that could get focused down if Luvaskot decides to turn the turrets on him. He will take a couple of losses, though. That's going to be interesting to see. But meanwhile, Luvaskot, he's been pretty much untouched in his base, and by that I mean completely untouched. So he's been able to do exactly what he wants all of this time. He's got tons of tech going on. He's got tripods rolling forward here. He's got 4 that are running through the middle of the map. And actually one of the refineries being forced to be sold off here for Angel of Death. He's still got a decent amount of Tiberium on his main field, whereas Luvaskot has completely mined out his main, has almost completely mined out his expansion, and is already beginning on his second expansion. So has a very, very significant economy lead here in this mid-game. And Luvaskot, he's just continuing to try to move around with these tripods. It looks like he just wants to catch out any units that are trying to stray across the middle of the map here for Angel of Death. But honestly, Angel of Death, he doesn't really have anything at the moment that could really move out and put on any type of counter pressure, as he only has those avatars, which are really not something you want to be sending out on their own. You want to have some supporting units with them, and obviously you want them to be able to do some significant damage when you send them along. Mastermind coming forward here from Luvaskot. Didn't even see this before, so I'm glad I panned over here, but looking like he's going to be coming forward. He's looking for an MCV snipe. Forces a sell-off of a silo, but that's not going to be enough. Oh, Luvaskot, he looks like he forgot about it. Nope, he still sees it. Okay, so he grabs the MCV now. That's going to be sold off. That's probably going to be GG here for Angel of Death. I honestly don't know how he can really recover from that. I mean, he's got a couple of war factories here, but honestly, he's just been set so far behind, and with the loss of his MCV, that's probably going to be signaling defeat. I mean, he's only got 1 refinery here on his expansion, 1 refinery on his main. He's not out of it yet, but he's definitely not looking in good shape right now. He's got 4 avatars that are rolling through the middle of the map, but he's got shielded tripods coming into the backside of his base here, and they're going to be rolling in on top of the harvesters. And once those harvesters go down, I don't quite know what he's going to be able to do, and these avatars are just simply not going to be able to kill anything substantial here in the base of Luvaskot. So maybe just a, yeah, actually it's going to be Angel of Death pulling those avatars back. So unfortunately, the very slow avatar move here from Angel of Death, as we see the tripods actually running forward and getting crushes on these harvesters. They can't actually see them, but they know if they just walk over the field, they're more than likely going to get a crush or 2. Tech Center being focused down here, that's going to force the sell-off there, and these tripods should be able to get free damage here. All these power plants going down, they cannot be rebuilt, and once Angel of Death is put into a low power state, that just exacerbates his problem even further, in that his production speed is going to be cut in half. Just to add insult to injury, Station Shield coming down from Luvaskot, but we do see an MCV come out from Angel of Death, so he's not out of it yet, but honestly he's lost so many units and infrastructure, I don't quite know how he could potentially get back in this game. And now those avatars have been locked down for the time being, and they're more than likely going to get EMP'd the second they come back online. Though the numbers of tripods have dwindled, we do have supporting Seeker tanks coming forward. 2 of the avatars get EMP'd, and the GG and fire sale coming out from Angel of Death. And that is going to be it. Luvaskot picking up a second victory and a victory in the series. A strong showing here from Luvaskot. He really made that early game pressure really work out to his advantage. I mean, he took out 2 engineers, won the scouting war, and then just spiraled out of control in terms of economy. So, I mean, Angel of Death put up a good fight. I mean, he was trying to keep up in terms of production, but the Seeker tanks were just out-trading the Scorpion tanks, and when you have that going on, that's pretty much lights out for you. So, good effort from Angel of Death. Unfortunately, going to be seeing him departing from the tournament. It is a single elimination tournament. I just realized this is the second tournament in a row where I did not specify that, but maybe you guys have just come to expect it. But anyways, Angel of Death going to be departing training account, aka Luvaskot, going to be moving on in the tournament, and we'll have to check in to see who his challenger is going to be. But with that said, we're going to be moving on to another series here, everybody, so be sure to stay tuned. Hello everybody and welcome to game number 3 of this best of 3 series, and that brings us to the map Tournament Tower. You guys may be confused as to who we are joining, but down in the bottom left corner as the yellow screen, we have Sjon. And then in the upper right corner as the green GDI, we have We Got the Rockets. So it is 1-1 here. This is a best of 3 series, so this is match point. I was invited to this game. So it should be interesting. These guys are playing for keeps here in this game. I just realized I need to pull up the mini-map. Sorry for that. Production is a little bit behind here today. I'm dropping the ball in a couple locations, but hey, that's okay. Dealing with some hotkey issues, but we'll get through it together. And hopefully by the end of the cast here today, we'll have everything kind of sorted out. But with that said, Sjon, or Sjon, I'm not sure how to pronounce his name. You can see it up here. If you guys know how to pronounce it, feel free to make fun of me in the chat. I've never seen this guy play, but honestly, I've seen We Got the Rockets, and I know he is a decent player, so should be interesting to see. Obviously, these guys are somewhat comparable in skill level, seeing that we do have a 1-1 situation here, and I'm vamping a little bit here because I'm pretty sure it's just eco openers from both players. Doesn't look like we have any APC engineers, at least not from what I can tell. Maybe that's what this is here. Nope, that's just a rifleman squad down in the bottom, so some early game scouts moving around the map here for both players. Nothing too crazy going on. We have a foundry drop coming out from Sjon here down in the bottom left. As I think we didn't have a crane here coming out from Rockets, so there's the divergence in the two builds here so far. But meanwhile, we've just got triple War Factory coming out from Rockets, and he's going to be looking to go Predator tanks here, maybe getting into some Pred APC. Obviously a very strong tactic in Tiberium Wars, and GDI a very, very strong faction in this game. Is that going to be an APC engineer? I can't see it quite yet. That's just an APC, so may try to force the pack-up of the drone ship. Actually forces out a buzzer hive in response. Going to be trying to deal with the APC engineer. He may actually force the pack-up there. Does force the pack-up, so that's going to be really worthwhile there. Nice move from Rockets. He's going to be pretty happy about that. Actually gets the power down on the buzzer hive as well, so Sjon may be panicking a little bit here, thinking that he's going to be losing his drone ship, but he does have a foundry, so he doesn't have to worry about it too much. Devourer tank out on the front lines as well, going to be pushing that APC away, and Rockets, that's already paid for itself. I mean, he's going to be happy with that. Canceled whatever production was coming out of that drone ship, and now we have the Predator tank army here moving through the middle of the map. Doesn't look like there are any garrisons taken just yet. And it's just straight up Predator tank spam. It looks like one of the War Factories were sold off. Not terribly shocking there, but huge Predator tank army just rolling into the base here, but they're going to have to deal with charged up Devourer tanks, and that's pretty scary, but there are a decent number of Predator tanks here. Lightning Spike being dropped as well, so it looks like Sjon's going to try to hold this one off. He's going to be trying to keep the Predator tanks from actually getting into a concave position here. And he's actually done a nice job with the building blocking here, and the Devourer tank should be able to hold the lines with the assistance of the Lightning Spike. And it looks like Rockets doesn't want to commit into that just yet. We do just have scouts on the other side of the map. A whole lot more going on. Actually, those scouts getting that Tiberium Spike down to about half HP. That's going to have to be dealt with in the near future, but Devourer tanks continuing to force the Predator tank army here from Rockets to be pulled back off of the front lines. And it's looking like we're going to have an air transition coming out from We Got the Rockets. Maybe Firehawks or maybe Orcas. I'm not sure. It's like there is a tech center down for We Got the Rockets, so he has access to Firehawks, that's for certain. Let's see if that ends up being the case. Tiberium Spike actually being repaired now by Sjon, so he doesn't want to allow that to die without recourse. Maybe he should send something over just to deal with those scouts. Those are just going to be a little bit annoying. And not a whole lot more going on here for Sjon. It looks like he has teched up to tier 3 in the meantime. Got a very, very nice economy rolling on this expansion. And we got the Rockets. He's not expanded at all. He's actually packed up his MCV and he's moving for the expansion now. But I'm not quite sure what the difference in decision making here was. He was thinking maybe triple War Factory tank spam. But honestly, that just did not pay off for him. And now he's actually got to deal with these disintegrators joined by the Devourer tanks. Actually, one Devourer tank being focused down there, so that's not too bad. But now they're sitting on the front lines here with the disintegrators coming forward, and they're going to be absolutely obliterated. Only a couple of APCs to hold the lines, and we do have a Mammoth tank out on the field, so it's looking like it's probably just going to be straight up APC spam here at this point for Rockets. That's what he really needs to start pumping out. And that one squad's still chilling out over there. Meanwhile, Rockets, he has deployed his MCV, but, I mean, look how far behind he is in terms of infrastructure. I mean, there's 4 refineries here on this expansion. Only 5 harvesters, so definitely not a great harvester to refinery ratio, but in Tiberium Wars it doesn't matter a whole lot. It's pretty cost effective just to build refineries just to get harvesters in that situation. So we'll have to see. It's looking like Sjon has managed to hold the line here on the right hand side, completely hold off any counter harass from Rockets, and he does have those Firehawks out on the field. 4 Firehawks were returning. Not quite sure what they hit. They may have hit some... looks like they took out the tech center. That's actually a pretty good bombing run coming out from Rockets, and will maybe allow him to get back into this game as far as the economy is concerned. But those Firehawks are a pretty big threat at this point here for Sjon. And yeah, he's realized this. He's got the station shield down on the Mammoth tank as well as a couple of Predator tanks and the War Factory. Those tripods just coming through and wreaking havoc in this base, joined by a couple of Devourer tanks. But honestly, those tripods would probably be able to focus down this whole base on their own. And they're just going to continue to run around here as the station shield finally does wear off. So now these forces here from We Got the Rockets are able to get back in the action. But honestly, the airfield has been focused down. I don't know if Rockets has still got his Firehawks around. Looks like they are alive. He does actually bomb the Tier 2, so trying maybe to deny the Tier 3 from being dropped again. And I don't think we have Tier 3 on the map here for Sjon just yet, so he's at a severe tech disadvantage at this point in the game. Though Sjon has responded by taking out pretty much the entire main base of We Got the Rockets. It's looking like he's cleaned up pretty much everything. I think he lost maybe 1 tripod in that whole army, and the second tripod goes down there. That War Factory is going to be getting focused down, EMP'd as well, and now just a couple of power plants and a barracks here for Rockets. He actually manages to drop the barracks before the War Factory goes down, so he still had build radius there. That's pretty nice. Meanwhile, the Firehawks just chilling out over the top of the refineries here. Unfortunately for We Got the Rockets, he has no way of healing up these Firehawks, so heavily invested in those Firehawks, and now all 4 of them are going to be burning up. A little bit unfortunate there. He's going to be losing his infrastructure here in the way of power as well, so 2 upgraded power plants going to be forced to be sold off there from We Got the Rockets. So Sjon, he's lost his tech, but he's still sitting very, very pretty in terms of economy. And he has made a Storm Rider transition, so we'll have to see if this is able to pay off for him. Those 4 Storm Riders just flying around, maybe out to deal with the Firehawks, but honestly the Firehawks are gone, and now these infantry are the only line of defense for Rockets at the time being. So surprisingly enough, We Got the Rockets going for some rockets. Who would have thought? Terrible pun, but hey, it is what it is. We'll live with it. No production, actually, for Rockets, aside from just a single barracks and his MCV, so he's actually dropped an armory, so he's pretty heavily invested in the infantry, and that's kind of scary considering he doesn't have much in the way of anti-infantry, and Sjon has access to the Buzzer Swarm support power, so to be careful. It's pretty scary. At least I think they have access to the Buzzer Swarm support power. Let me just check real quick. Yeah, Buzzer Swarm is a thing here in Tiberium Wars. I wasn't sure if that was like a Kane's Wrath only thing. Again, my knowledge of Tiberium Wars is severely lacking in comparison to Kane's Wrath, so apologies if I don't get everything correct right off the hop, but hopefully that will get better over time. It's looking like Sjon is just kind of chilling out here. He's given Rockets a lot of time to get himself back into this game, and I don't know about that decision. I mean, maybe he's concerned because he doesn't have any tech established, but honestly, he's got a really significant advantage, and you can really punish that by just pushing forward and trading, even cost inefficiently with Rockets. It's still better than nothing. That Rifleman squad actually went heroic. That has been sitting here attacking that Tiberium spike for the entire game, and that Rifleman squad finally went heroic when it turned the turrets on the disintegrators. So that was definitely a worthwhile scout there for We Got the Rockets. Is that a Visceroid? Where the heck did a Visceroid come from? Okay. Alright. I didn't know that was a thing, to be honest. So Visceroids, they're a thing in Tiberium Wars, apparently. Storm Riders flying over the top of the infantry, and apparently they're just being sacrificed to the cause here for Rockets, as all of these missiles are just going to be focusing them down. Basefield comes off here from Sjon, and he's going to be looking to get some epic crushes. Does have a couple of corruptors on the front lines here, but the GG comes in from Rockets, and Sjon going to be picking up game number 3 and the series. So good game there coming out from Sjon. I'm just gonna keep calling him Sjon until somebody corrects me. I'm pretty sure that is accurate. But we got the Rockets. He put up a good fight. Unfortunately, his early game decision to go triple War Factory Predator tanks did not pay off for him, and then the quick expansion from Sjon versus his very, very late expansion just really wasn't able to work. He went for Firehawks, was able to bomb out the tech pretty well, but honestly, it was just, there's too much on the map for Sjon already, and with his economy out of control the way it was, there's just no coming back from it. And great move from Sjon to actually move forward and actually kill off the airfield as well. That was probably the saving grace there, because, I mean, Rockets could have just continued to bomb him into oblivion, but that wasn't the case. So Sjon going to be moving on. We got the Rockets going to be departing. And with that said, we are going to be looking for yet another series to actually jump into here. So be sure to stick around. Alright everybody, so we've been bouncing around quite a bit here this morning due to some technical issues early on, but I think we've got them sorted out at this point. So with that said, we're going to give you guys a quick bracket update since we've been jumping between series and haven't had quite a cohesive view of what's going on in this tournament so far. So let's get a look at the bracket and then we will jump into our next series. I'm already in that game, so we know we're going to be getting game number 1. With that said, let's pull up the bracket. Alright, so here is the bracket. Just realized it wasn't full screen. And with that said, let's take a look and see what we've got for scores. So, Shocktreatment obviously getting a free win out of the round of 16. Monster Tamer versus Unknown. Unknown taking a 2-0 victory there, so the Tiberium Wars veteran besting the Kane's Wrath contender here. And he's going to be moving on to face off against Shocktreatment. That's actually the series that we are going to be jumping into right now once I complete slurring my words here this morning. Sjon versus We Got the Rockets. We saw that one coming out 2-1 in favor of Sjon. We caught game number 3 there just a few moments ago, so you can be sure to rewind the stream and check the end of that series out. Below that, we had Studio facing off against Rias Grimori. It looks like that one is still in progress, or the brackets just haven't been updated just yet. Bert getting a free win out of the round of 16. Angel of Death going down 2-0 to Luvaskot. We did see the second game of that series and saw that one complete. So Bert going to be facing off against Luvaskot. That one is more than likely underway. And that's going to be in the round of 8 or the quarterfinals, whichever you prefer to call it. TS Shango versus The Flash. That one is still in progress. Those are the guys that were having some connectivity issues, so I think they're still in the process of sorting that series out. But AdamLallana down below that getting a free win out of the round of 16. So that brings us into the quarterfinals here. So with that said, we're going to be jumping into... it should be a best of 3 series. It looks like the bracket's a little bit mixed up here. So it should be a best of 3 here for the quarterfinals, and then best of 5 for the semis, best of 7 for the finals. So Shocktreatment versus Unknown is coming up right now, everybody, so be sure to stick around. Alright, everybody, and welcome to game number 1 of this best of 3 quarterfinal series, and that brings us to the map Pipeline Problems. And spawning in the top as the pink screen, we have Shock Treatment. And down below that as the... take a look. As the purple GDI, we have Unknown. And I just realized I've got my colors wrong. Holy smokes, the production today, everybody. A+ production, 10 out of 10, would not watch again. But Pipeline Problem is going to be the map here, and obviously Quick expands to the blue Tiberium field as it is fully grown. And, you know, it's an interesting map. It's something that I really like watching here on Tiberium Wars because players really play it a little bit differently than we would see. And I'm looking forward to it. Shock Treatment and Unknown. I mean, I'm going to give the leg up to Shock Treatment. I've called him Shocktopus just because it fits a little bit better on the scoreboard, and that's actually the name that he's smurfing under in this game. But triple refinery creep out to the blue field here for Shock Treatment. He's going to be looking to get those harvesters cranking on that blue Tiberium, and he's actually going to sell up one of the refineries. Pretty smart there. Doesn't necessarily need 3 on that field. He'll harvest that up pretty quickly, but Unknown doing the exact same thing, so he is no slouch. He's going to be keeping up with Shock Treatment, but I'm going to give the leg up to Shock Treatment. He is probably a contender for the finals, if not the victory overall. We'll have to see how things shake out. I think I said that in the last tournament, and it didn't work out too well for him, so maybe he can redeem himself in this game, but it's going to be early Storm Riders here coming out from Shock Treatment, and this may actually catch Unknown with his pants down. We'll have to see if it ends up being the case. And actually a base creep out to the Tiberium Spike capture as well, so that's actually one of the nice features of Tiberium Wars is you can base creep all the way over there. It is going to be APC engineers coming out from Unknown in response by the looks of it. He does not actually have eyes on any of this stuff just yet, at least I don't think he's actually gotten vision of it yet. We have Shock Treatment, he's sending a buzzer through the middle of the map now, and we also have a scout here from Unknown on the left-hand side. Going to be getting into the blue field. He's going to be seeing that this blue field is pretty much gone for Shock Treatment, and likewise for Unknown. That's all completely cleaned up, and now these guys are going to be harvesting very heavily on their green Tiberium fields. Meanwhile, let's take a look and see what's going on with the Storm Riders. Where are they? So 4 Storm Riders already out on the map. They could be harvester hunting at this point in the game. I mean, they could take some harvesters out pretty quickly. Not sure if that APC engineer actually got sight of that. I would have to imagine that it probably did. Actually, that APC engineer being used to capture the expansion point. Now it's going to be Unknown dropping refineries on the forward expansion there for Shock Treatment. So 4 Storm Riders as well as a lightning spike in the blue field here of Unknown. And I mean, if these harvesters that are full of blue Tiberium go down, that's a significant amount of economy loss here for Unknown. This harvester's actually just kind of chilling out here, taking free damage, and Unknown is going to pull those back now. He's dropped a barracks, not quite sure what for. It looks like maybe that was to pump out some rocket squads to deal with the Storm Riders, but there's just so many of them, and he just doesn't have the production capabilities to keep up. Rocket squad's coming out, but it looks like they're on a rally point to actually go around to the Tiberium Spike. That's not where they want to be going right now, and yeah, he's just realized that now, and he's actually going to call them back. So a couple of rookie mistakes here early on, but he's dealing with some fights on pretty much every front. And jig is up here for Unknown. He's been spotted here at this expansion for Shock Treatment. We'll more than likely see Shock Treatment tech up to tier 3 before expanding too far forward, and yeah, that has been done already. I'm acting like I know what I'm talking about, but it was just a purely educated guess, ended up paying dividends in this situation. So radar scan did come down, not quite sure where it was exactly. It must have been over here, as that would make a lot more sense, but the Storm Riders have been held off. It looks like they've actually fallen back. No, they're actually going to come forward now. There are 8 of them, and they are looking to go harvester hunting at this time. There are a couple of rocket squads here from Unknown, but not a whole lot to actually defend this base. They are definitely out of position. One harvester probably going to be going down, at least taking a lot of damage. Yeah, honestly, these Storm Riders should just stick around and kill that off. That's a harvester full of Tiberium, not actually pulled off the line, so Unknown maybe not paying attention to this area at all, but he's dealing with tripods on the front lines. There's also a storm column as well, so this is looking very, very scary here for Unknown, and a harvester goes down right on the front lines, so this aggressive expansion coming out from Unknown being punished pretty hard here by Shock Treatment, going for that tier 3, and is more than likely going to force the sell up of this infrastructure here from Unknown. Meanwhile, he's dealing with those Storm Riders on the back side of things, and how many went down? It looks like there's still 8, so Shock Treatment didn't actually lose any Storm Riders, took out at least one harvester, maybe more. Honestly not sure, but the rocket squads are now just going to chill out here by the refineries. Probably a smart move. Want to keep those harvesters alive. Not sure what else we have on the map here for unknown at the time. A couple of rocket squads joined by a lone rifleman squad, so that's actually a pretty scary thing for a Buzzer Swarm support power to deal with. They can actually just come in and clean up that whole line of infantry pretty quickly. And now we did see Shocktreatment clean up that expansion point, also getting another harvester kill. So each harvester that goes down, that's a lot of money going in favor of Shocktreatment. Now the base creep coming forward here from Shocktreatment. He's more than likely going to be looking to building block those buzzer hives, but Buzzer Swarm support power coming down on the back lines. There's really no anti-infantry here. Only the infantry drop coming out from unknown. Those two rifleman squads are going to be trying to hold off against all of these buzzers, but honestly, they've done so much damage. And now we have mass corruptors on the front lines, going to be able to take out this infantry with no worries whatsoever. Tripod sitting on the back lines, focusing down anything that's managed to make its way around the edge of the map. Storm Riders coming in from the left. They're going to be looking to go harvester hunting in the meantime. Should be able to clean up all the harvesters on this expansion, as Unknown really doesn't have... Actually, no, he doesn't have an expansion, so Shocktreatment may be thinking that there were some harvesters there and he was going to clean them up while this was going on. But honestly, Corruptors just being pumped out on the front lines. Unknown doesn't really have an answer to the anti-infantry here coming out from Shocktreatment, and this is looking devastating. What else do we have going on the other side of the map? A couple of infantry have made it their way around the side of the map here for Unknown. Going to be looking to go for some counter-harassment, but really there's not much to do over there. The Corruptors should be able to focus down all of the infantry, and Unknown going to be tapping out in game number 1, going over to Shocktreatment. So, Visceroids apparently a real thing here. Excuse me as I had to clear my throat there. But Shocktreatment really coming through with a powerful early victory here in game number 1. Going to be taking a 5-minute and 46-second victory over Unknown, and that is going to be leaving him poised to take a 2-0 potentially here in game number 2, and that's going to be coming up momentarily, so be sure to stick around. Alright everybody, and welcome to game number 2 of this best of 3 quarterfinal series, and that brings us to the map Tournament Arena. And spawning in the upper left corner, coming off of a victory in the last game, spawning as, or I'm sorry, not off of a victory in the last game, but a loss in the last game, as the blue screen, we have Unknown. And then down in the bottom right, as the, or rather pink screen, we have Shocktreatment. So Shocktreatment's up 1-0 again. He is listed as Shocktopus here, just strictly for the purpose of keeping the name shorter on the scoreboard. With that said, he's looking to pick up a game 2 and maybe get himself an early victory and get into the semifinals a little bit earlier on. Oh my god, my hotkeys though. Those hotkeys though, completely screwed up today, everybody. Sorry about that. And what do we have coming out from Unknown? Okay, so it's an early drone ship pack up here from Unknown. There are disintegrators out on the map, going to be looking to get a kill on any outpost coming out from unknown. So that was a smart move actually to go for the drone ship move as opposed to the outpost, as they would get focused down very quickly just by a single disintegrator squad. And it looks like it was a similar build here from both players, just going to be sending out a disintegrator as well as some buzzers to join it. But Shocktreatment going for the early expansion with the outpost, manages to defend it and get that refinery up and running. So now he has a significant build radius over there, and he will get his economy up and running quickly. We do have a warp sphere here on the backline. So Shocktreatment actually keeping his warp sphere around his green field as opposed to on the blue field, whereas Unknown has actually dropped this on the blue field. Unfortunately, there is a disintegrator squad that's made its way into the blue field here for Shocktreatment. Going to be forcing out a buzzer hive drop from Unknown. Manages to get the kill on all of those units, and will be getting a quick repair of that harvester. So actually that one probably paying off for Unknown. Meanwhile, he's got a foundry in his base, but only a single extractor here, so no second refinery down just yet on his green field. But meanwhile, Shocktreatment, he's got 2 refineries on his green field, but only a single refinery here on his blue field. Actually decides to drop a portal here on the blue field to try to get out. Well, actually, it looks like it's going to be an assimilator trying to grab the Tiberium Spike. That's actually kind of risky. I mean, he doesn't have a whole lot in the way of scouts out here to get vision. I guess he does have a couple of seeker tanks joined by a single buzzer moving through the middle of the map, so maybe just looking to secure a little bit of protection here for that engineer. Actually, that could be getting sniped here. A lone buzzer coming out from Unknown, maybe just reading that this was coming. He's going to get the kill on that buzzer, or rather the engineer, and that is a nice pickup there for Unknown. Denying the capture of the Tiberium Spike there, but Lightning Spike coming down from Shocktreatment, going to be looking to focus down that foundry very quickly, and it is pretty lightly armored in comparison to most structures, but forces out a Lightning Spike here from Unknown in response. He'll be trying to focus down the Seeker Tanks, maybe realizes that he can actually kill these guys off, whereas he would not be able to focus down that Lightning Spike too quickly. Foundry does go down for Unknown, so that's going to be getting focused down, but honestly, been trading pretty well with these Seeker Tanks. Should honestly be continuing to press that advantage. And we do have double Warp Sphere coming out from Unknown, though they are separated. So this map getting a little bit divided up here for Unknown, as he does have production kind of all over the place at the moment, but that's not a bad thing. Going to be able to respond in a couple different locations. Meanwhile, Shocktreatment, he has 2 these Warp Spheres here, dropping down to his Tier 3 as well, so it's a later foundry for him, as opposed to Unknown's very early foundry because he went for the drone ship pack-up. But, I mean, this blue field, it's still only about half harvested here for Shocktreatment, so not investing really heavily in going for that blue Tiberium early, whereas it's looking like Shocktreatment, he's putting the pressure on the expansion here from Unknown. He's got a large number of Seeker Tanks actually going to be able to focus down these harvesters pretty quickly. Phase field coming out from Unknown, great phase field, as he's going to be able to keep 2 of those harvesters alive. Unfortunately, going to be paying for that with another foundry, though. And looks like just a couple of harvesters here from Unknown. Going to be rolling through here, as we do have 1 unphased harvester. He does need to be careful. That one is unphased. Actually, surprisingly enough, those harvesters can tank a lot of Seeker Tank damage. Like a surprising amount. That's a lot of Seeker Tanks that were focusing them down. But response Seeker Tanks coming out from Unknown. Looks like they were headed towards the blue field, but they've actually turned and headed towards this green expansion. Mastermind coming through the middle of the map here for Shocktreatment. Doesn't look like he necessarily wants to go for any of those Seeker Tanks just yet, as Shocktreatment actually has a much larger number of Seeker Tanks here to deal with these Seeker Tanks from Unknown. Should be able to focus them down. And that one actually going into heavy damage mode. He's not going to be able to get away. That will get focused down eventually. Ooh, may actually get away, as we do have tripods coming out from Unknown as well. So those tripods are going to be able to focus down Seeker Tanks very, very quickly. So not a good idea to commit into those. We do have looks like a gravity stabilizer down for Unknown as well. So he's obviously got Tier 3, not quite sure where that is at the moment. Looks like actually he's sold up his refinery on his blue field. Keeping that Warp Sphere around, though. The Tier 3 is actually on the back lines, as we can see that. It's actually a good place for it. Meanwhile, we have double portal drop coming out from Shocktreatment. Has he actually gone for a capture? Oh, okay, he's got a capture on the way, but the Buzzer Swarm support power being used to try to deal with that assimilator, but not quick enough. So Unknown wasting a very powerful support power coming out from Skrin, as we do see that Buzzer Swarm support power is not going to be on cooldown, and obviously it is a wasted amount of money as well. So the tank there, it looks like it was pretty heavily damaged. He's going to be actually falling back. So So Shocktreatment, he's got control of both Tiberium spikes at this point in time, and he's going to be cranking on additional income, and that's going to matter a lot once these green fields are finally cleaned up. The Mastermind coming forward here from Shocktreatment. What do we have coming out from Unknown in response to Unknown? He doesn't have a whole lot in the way of units, to be completely frank. I mean, there's really not a whole lot on the map for him at the moment, as we do see Shock Troopers coming forward here for Shocktreatment, so giving him a bit of that Shock Trooper treatment. That's a tongue twister. Say that one 10 times fast. A couple of Harvesters going down, a Tripod going down as well. Tripod's coming forward here for Unknown, but honestly, no phase field available, so we'll not be seeing the crushes coming out. Actually, those Shock Troopers being focused down pretty well, but honestly, the Tripods not being stasis shielded just well enough, as we do see only 2 of them actually getting locked down, so bit of a miss from Unknown in that situation. Mastermind coming forward, he's looking for a drone ship. Look like he's managed to find it just yet. Actually manages to get himself a power plant by the looks of it, as we do see Seeker tanks on the back lines, but GG coming in from Unknown, and that's going to be it. Shocktreatment taking a slightly messy game number 2 and the series. That one was a little bit hectic as far as the action kind of all over the map and different things going on, but honestly, I thought Unknown and Shocktreatment were on pretty equal economic footing, but Shocktreatment just had so much more production, and he was really able to spiral out of control. So let's see if that was actually demonstrated in the resource graph. So yeah, Shocktreatment, despite going for a smaller resource infrastructure on the blue Tiberium field, he was actually able to harvest more Tiberium even early on than Unknown. So interesting move from Shocktreatment. Honestly, I've seen double refinery on the blue field more so than on the green field on this map. So interesting to see that divergence here in builds, and Shocktreatment really coming out on top, making that resource advantage really pay off in the late game. So good game there. Shocktreatment going to be moving on into the semifinals, which will be coming up pretty soon. But with that said, we're going to look for another game series, so be sure to stick around. Alright everybody, so a decent number of matches have been reported since we were in game, so let's go ahead and get another bracket update and get ourselves up to speed with how this tournament is going. So with that said, let's pull up the bracket, and for those of you that want to follow along on your own, you can check out the bracket link down in the description of the video. We'll have all the info you need to follow along here on your own if you want to be able to check out the bracket while we're in game. But with that said, let's take a look and see how these matches turned out. So we did see Sjon versus We Got the Rockets taking a 2-1 there, and then Studio actually taking a 2-0 over Rias Grimori. So it's going to be Sjon versus Studio coming up in the quarterfinals. And then down below that, we did have Flash getting a free win, facing off against Luvaskot. That is underway at the moment, and TS Shango taking a 2-0 over Bert. That's actually kind of interesting. I mean, I'm fairly familiar with Bert, so I was kind of expecting him to really actually come out on top, so that just shows my lack of knowledge as far as Tib Wars players go. But TS Chongo going to be facing off against AdamLallana, who got a free win out of the round of 16. We'll have to see if he can secure himself another position in the semifinals. But with that said, looks like we're fully invested here in the quarterfinals. We did see Shocktreatment taking a 2-0 over Unknown. Again, the brackets are it's a bit of a mistake right now, as we do see it says best of 5 for the quarterfinals, best of 7 for the semis, and then best of 1 for the finals, which would be kind of funny. That's not actually the case. It is best of 3 for the quarterfinals, best of 5 for the semifinals, and then best of 7 for the actual finals. So with that said, that's going to be updated here in a few minutes. I know Monster Tamer's already on it, and that should be fixed momentarily. But with that said, we're going to be jumping into our next series, everybody. Not quite sure who it's going to be. It's going to be whatever game ends up in the lobby here first, and then we'll be jumping straight into that match. So be sure to stick around. Alright everybody, and welcome to game number 1 of this best of 5 semifinal series, and that brings us to the map Pipeline Problems. And spawning down in the bottom of the map as the red screen, we have Luvaskot. And then sliding up to the top of the map as the green GDI, we have AdamLallana. And I just realized I've got my colors wrong. Total epic fails on the production today, everybody. My hotkeys are totally messed up, so I do apologize. I know things are kind of like bugging in and out as we're going along, but I do apologize greatly for that. I will have it sorted out for our next tournament series. But anyways, with that said, going to be a straight-up base creep here out from both players to the blue Tiberium field, and not terribly shocking. Pretty standard stuff here for Tiberium Wars. Let's see if we have any kind of crazy opener builds coming out from either side. It's looking like it's going to be a crane for each side, so pretty standard stuff, really not a whole lot to talk about. We did see a pretty interesting game coming out from Shocktreatment on this map in the last series, so we'll have to see if that ends up being something similar here in this game. We do have lots of screen being played today, surprisingly enough. I mean, it is random only, so maybe getting unlucky factions as far as getting screen. I'm not sure what these guys prefer in the way of factions, but I know GDI and Nod obviously very, very strong in Tiberium Wars. Screen good in the right hands, and obviously pretty good once you get into the late game. So we'll have to see how things work out for either side here. Just going to be some early scouting here. It's looking like AdamLallana's actually got some pretty good scouts across the map here. And now we have just a couple of secret tanks rolling around for Luvaskot. Going to be looking to get some scouting information of his own and also put on some early pressure by the looks of it. And it looks like actually there was a buzzer hive drop. I think it was actually sold off, but interestingly enough, Luvaskot actually coming out on top there. So just to recap, we've got Luvaskot as the scrin and AdamLallana as the GDI, just in case that was not clear from before. But we do have the scout from AdamLallana going to be getting good vision of this double warp sphere production coming out from Luvaskot, and he's going to be feeling pretty comfortable on how to go about countering that, and we'll have to see what he chooses to go for here, as we do see Secret tanks rolling into the base of AdamLallana. They're going to be chased away here by some infantry, as well as some early game Predator tanks coming out from AdamLallana. Tier 3 straight away here for Adam. You see that creeping towards the green Tiberium field here in the middle, and pretty soon we're going to end up with an epic clash in the middle. And we do have an APC engineer coming through here for AdamLallana. Could potentially be getting a warp sphere. Actually forces the sell-off, so that was probably worth it anyways. Cuts the production here from Luvaskot at least a tiny bit. Doesn't stop the base creep though, as he did not get the furthest structure out, so the tier 2 has already given plenty of build radius here for Luvaskot to actually get his refineries established on that expansion. Mass tier 1 army here coming out from AdamLallana, going to be looking to go for maybe an early game push here. I say early game, but it's probably more mid game at this point, as we did not see a whole lot going on early game. We do have some secret tanks rolling through the middle of the map here for Luvaskot. Does not want to commit into this army because he will not be able to do almost anything against this. Buzzer Swarm support power coming in from Luvaskot, doing ridiculous amounts of damage, cleaning up pretty much all of those infantry. And a little shout out to Hanthasteria to ask for that that little shout there. Ask and you shall receive. But the secret tank's actually coming out on top now that the infantry has been more or less cleaned up. Now we're seeing the Predator tanks coming forward. They should be able to get a decent enough concave with the support of the rocket squads on the back lines, but there are some buzzers coming in from the back lines. Got to be careful not to lose too many of those rocket squads. They are being focused down. Lightning Spike being able to fire untouched here on the back lines. APC actually being forced to be pulled off the line, but it looks like AdamLallana has managed to come out on top in this engagement here. It's going to be able to take out the Lightning Spike as well, so that's going to be a good pickup. Meanwhile, we do have a fourth refinery coming down from AdamLallana. We'll be looking to get that expansion up and running. Could actually grab that expansion point if he wanted to as well, but honestly, he's probably got build radius out there already. Not too much to be worried about, but we do have tripods out on the front lines here for Luvaskot doing a lot of damage, and we have the charged up Devourer tanks actually focusing down a decent number of those Predator tanks as well, losing one in the process, but not too much to worry about here, as we do have, looks like a couple of Storm Riders coming out from Luvaskot now. Going to be looking to get eyes on some APC engineers, so he has definitely spotted this one. He's actually managed to get it down to about half HP. Doesn't look like they necessarily want to recommit to attacking that. Looks like I'm not sure what the Storm Riders are up to. They're just kind of flying around getting some scouting information, but Well, what happened to that that APC Engineer? APC Engineer has actually made its way all the way around and is actually immediately focused down by a Storm Column drop coming out from Luvaskot. So he was all over that one. He focused it down. The second it got into range, it was one shot because it was already pretty heavily damaged from those Storm Riders. Storm Riders flying over the top of this infantry, that's not what you want to be seeing right now. They're more than likely being used as scouts, but they're being thrown into the meat grinder here. That is AdamLallana's front army here, as he's going to look to push forward a little bit. Devastator warships coming out on the front lines here for Luvaskot. Should be able to sit on this high ground and absolutely rain down death and destruction on this base. You have mammoth tanks coming out for AdamLallana as well. Maybe going to be railguns in the near future, but it looks like it's going to be the force fire coming out from that sonic emitter, just trying to get a little bit of damage out before it's actually focused down. That will be going down. War Factory going down as well. Firehawks coming in response, going to be immediately dropping that Devastator warship, so that is immediately focused down. Shock Troopers out on the field for Luvaskot as well. What do we have coming out right now? It looks like this entire green field has been cleaned up. One of these refineries could be sold off, doesn't necessarily need them. And keeping his foundry around as well, could honestly get rid of that, but maybe it's not a bad idea to hold on to it due to the fact that, oh no, actually AdamLallana is not a Scrin faction, so not a whole lot of potential there for mastermind captures. Railgun Mammoth Tank is going to be the order of the day here for AdamLallana. He's being forced back into his base here by a combination of Devastator warships and the sheer frontal armor and damage output from these tripods. Going to be moving forward here, and it's looking like it's going to be a little bit of a base creep with the support of the Storm Columns. And the great thing about the Storm Columns is they actually give a buff to the Devastator warships, so they're actually being repaired over time if they take any damage. And obviously, this having it camping over the top of that Storm Column will just protect it against Firehawks that are going to be looking to come in and destroy it. We'll have to see. That was kind of an interesting animation there, but all the same, we do have Devastator warship putting a little bit of pain on these Harvesters. Actually got a pretty nice shot there, as we did see the AoE damage coming off on the Harvesters as well as the Mammoth Tank. Firehawks coming in from the back lines, not quite sure what they just hit. Take a quick look and see if there was any major infrastructure damage. I don't see Tier 3 here for Luvaskot, so that may have been the victim of those Firehawks. Yeah, it's looking like maybe it was the Tier 3. Well, that's actually a pretty good pickup there for AdamLallana, but he has been locked down by a good stasis shield coming out from Luvaskot. Luvaskot going to use this opportunity to push forward, realizes that he's lost his tech advantage, and he's going to try to get into range and focus down the... No, actually, he's not going to commit into it, surprisingly enough. Honestly, you can move these Annihilator tripods very close to that stasis shield and then immediately EMP those Mammoth Tanks the second that wears off. Looks like he is going to do that now. One Mammoth Tank going down straight away, a second one going down straight away, and a third one. So that stasis shield was pretty huge. Shock Troopers as well, and those Shock Troopers doing huge amounts of damage and just doing such a nice job. Sniper teams on the backside going to be focusing down all the Shock Troopers here. It's going to take them a little while to actually focus them down, but as long as the Mammoth Tanks can trade out with these tripods, honestly, I'm thinking Adam could potentially hold the line here. Firehawks coming back in, looking for another bombing run here. Not quite sure what they're looking to hit just yet. Looks like they may actually split the bombs up across a couple of different locations. Took out a power plant and actually managed to get themselves a Shock Trooper kill as well. And it's looking like AdamLallana has managed to actually hold the line here. But we do have assimilators coming out on the front lines for Luvaskot, going to be picking up his tripods that have gone down, as we do have the sonic emitters as well as the Mammoth Tank's going to be focusing them down the second they're picked back up. So AdamLallana, despite being pushed back by that stasis shield, I mean, he's actually managed to return the damage pretty significantly. Great use of the sniper teams to actually go in and focus down a lot of those Shock Troopers who were doing the majority of the damage in that situation. And we'll have to see, Shock Troopers, are they going to be enough to actually focus this down? It looks like the sniper teams were cleaned up. I'm not quite sure what happened to them. More than likely a Buzzer Swarm support power. That was probably the ideal counter to that, but all the same, AdamLallana, he's managed to hold the line. He does need to be careful. Oh, great control there not to lose that Harvester. It's pretty heavily damaged, honestly, and there's not a whole lot of Tiberium left on the map, so one Harvester going down isn't a severe loss, but that Harvester does have a little bit of Tiberium there. Doesn't want to lose it, so this guy's going to be slowing down pretty considerably, and this is where a Mastermind would really be useful and be able to do a lot of damage for Luvaskot, but it doesn't look like that's going to be the case. Where are the Firehawks? I did see streaks in the air as though they were flying around. I did lose track of them, though. Not quite sure where they're at. Let's see. Nope. Okay, they are on the deck. Maybe that was just a animation glitch, but all the same, the looks like the crane was finally sold off here for AdamLallana, realizing that he doesn't need the extra production. Really not a whole lot more to build in this game. particularly in the way of structures, maybe in the way of base defenses, but aside from that, he doesn't really need a whole lot. A lot of mammoth tanks out on the field for AdamLallana, not a whole lot here from Luvaskot. He lost a lot in that last fight and just has not been able to recover. He's still keeping around a couple of extractors and foundry here. He's actually producing off of both a foundry and his drone ship, so he's got decent economy by the looks of it. Not quite sure what he's producing. Okay, so he's going for a gravity stabilizer creep. Is he going for some type of a mothership play here? Yeah, I'm thinking that's probably what this is. I mean, I can't imagine that he would be doing anything else. But he doesn't have tier 3. I don't quite know what he's doing, to be honest. It's kind of unusual. Maybe Luvaskot just kind of trolling around a little bit here as he doesn't have a whole lot left. I don't know that AdamLallana knows this, though. Maybe giving a little bit more respect to Luvaskot than he deserves at this point in the game. Honestly, the Firehawks, they can just continue to go for bombing runs as Luvaskot's really not doing anything as far as moving out or having any way of dealing with these Firehawks. So they can just continue to trade effectively very, very well. As we do see, we've slowed down to pretty much a halt here. Really not sure what's going on. AdamLallana not wanting to commit into the forces of Luvaskot. Maybe these guys called a truce or something. Maybe they signed it like a peace treaty. I'm not quite sure what's happened here. Not a whole lot happening, as we do have the Firehawks actually returning from taking out the Tiberium spike. A good pickup there for AdamLallana. Wants to just snipe the late game economy here for Luvaskot, and he does still have his Tiberium spike left at this point in time. Firehawks just flying around the map, maybe just trying to get some scouting information as they return to base to get some additional bombs. And AdamLallana saying, GG, I've had these guys completely mixed up. Wow. That epic fail. Epic fail. So Luvaskot actually going to be taking the victory there in that game. I'm very sorry, everybody. I realize now that I had the names completely backwards. Oh, boy. Today is something else, I'll tell you. With all these hotkey issues now, I've managed to get these two guys' names screwed up. So, Luvaskot actually taking a commanding victory there in that game. AdamLallana, the screen player, being dropped down into that game in 12 minutes and 19 seconds. So, my apologies, everybody. I have no words for what just happened. I did not think that was the case, but hey, mistakes were made. And how better to christen our move into Tiberium Wars than to completely screw up our cast today. So, with that said, let's jump into game number 2, and I will make sure that we have the names and factions sorted out correctly so that we're not making this mistake again. Sorry, everybody. It is what it is. I can't do anything about it now. So anyways, we're going to be moving on to game number 2, and that's going to be coming up momentarily, so be sure to stick around. Alright, everybody, and welcome to game number 2, and that brings us to the map Tournament Tower. And spawning in the upper left-hand corner, the name that I've double and triple checked, and will actually double check, or rather quadruple check as we're on the stream here. This is going to be AdamLallana, spawning as the red screen in the upper left corner, and then sliding on down to the bottom right. As the blue GDI, we have Luvaskot. So Luvaskot is up 1-0 in this best of 5 series. Again, if you guys were in that last match with me. I do apologize for the epic fail as far as getting the names right, but all the same, we saw the action, so just replace all of the names and pretty much everything that I said, and just, I don't know. I have no words, to be honest. I try to put in words, and they just don't work. So, we're going to try to continue to trudge through our mistakes here today, and we're going to be seeing Luvaskot here opening with an APC, so more than likely going to be seeing an APC engineer. I have to imagine that's what that APC is going to be for. Not terribly surprising to see that, particularly on this map. Obviously a very small map in comparison to most, so not shocking to see those early game harassment opportunities be used. The APC engineer, actually it's going to be 2 APC engineers by the looks of it, and not quite sure else we have going on. Let's see, it looks like the MCV is actually going to move forward here for Luvaskot, going to be looking to get an expansion set up on the upper platform here. And do we have a drone ship pack-up for AdamLallana? No, it's not going to be a drone ship pack-up, so he's going to be content with expanding using the building radius that he has from these structures. So I don't know if Luvaskot maybe just didn't have enough building radius with that war factory placement, but I have to imagine that he did, so maybe just wasn't comfortable with not having any additional base defense building radius up here. So we'll be moving his MCV up there, and we do have the APC engineer just going to be actually contending against a couple of disintegrator squads. That rifleman squad actually not doing any damage at all. And now there is a garrison here. It does have a buzzer. That buzzer is not going to be quick enough to respond to the Tiberium spike capture there. So Luvaskot, he's going to be grabbing himself both Tiberium spikes for the time being. We'll have to see what AdamLallana's response is going to be. So we know he's not doing too well with Scrin. He said he was a little bit disappointed to see that he got Scrin in the last game, so maybe not feeling as confident as he could if he were to get other factions. But all the same, Luvaskot, he's capitalized on this early game here from GDI. Going to be grabbing himself both Tiberium spikes, giving himself that 25 credits a second difference between himself and AdamLallana. A whole lot more going on at the moment as we do see these guys just ecoing up, and then we'll more than likely start seeing some Tier 1, Tier 2 production, and probably attack straight up to Tier 3, because honestly, Tier 3 going to be very, very strong on this map. You want to see those Devastator warships and Firehawks and artillery and all that, because it's going to end up becoming a base push. I mean, it's Tiberium Wars, it is Tournament Tower. This is probably the quintessential base push map, aside from maybe Tournament Arena. So we do have a lightning spike being dropped on the front lines here. Going to be taking a lot of damage here from the Predator tanks, but actually drawing quite a bit of fire without a lot of return on investment here. As we do see now the repair drones actually being called in on the Seeker tanks. So the Seeker tanks, if they're focused firing, they should be able to trade with these Predator tanks. Probably not with the support of the Watchtower. Watchtower actually focusing down the garrison structure in the center of the map here. Kind of interesting, but unfortunately the Seeker tanks actually being thrown away here. Those repair drones not being used to full effect, and unfortunately AdamLallana dropping a lot of Seeker tanks in that engagement. So does have a couple of Devourer tanks out on the map, going to be getting some charged up here, and he's going to be looking to get kills on these Predator tanks as they get into range. Looks like he's going to be able to focus down one Predator tank straight away, so great concave coming out from AdamLallana. That's going to be enough to force Luvaskot to fall back. Doesn't want to engage into this, and also a photon cannon coming down as well, so pretty good base defense coming out from AdamLallana for the time being. Be able to hold the line pretty easily. What else do we have going on at the moment? Not a whole lot. Oh, actually it looks like there was an APC engineer managed to grab the Tier 3 from AdamLallana, and Luvaskot, he's going to be feeling really good about this. Forces out the... Oh my goodness, that was actually a Buzzer Swarm support power trying to kill off the Shock Trooper squad that Luvaskot got from the sold off tech center, but that's going to get focused down by the Devourer tanks. He does not want to allow that to get into his Tiberium field and focus down any harvesters. So really nice capture there from Luvaskot, but meanwhile his Predator tanks have been locked down by the stasis shield, but it looks like it is just a stopgap, as we do see AdamLallana trying to respond to this as his Devourer tanks were out of position. They're going to move into position now. They're actually getting some decent picks here while that stasis shield was online. Another Predator tank going down, so actually AdamLallana trading really well right now. Loses one harvester, but he's taken out a lot of these units. Needs to focus down the Predator tanks and not the APCs. Honestly, the APCs are just there to do the constant DPS and really just tank some damage. But now the Corruptors here going to be healing up the Devourer tanks on the front lines. They're going to more than likely fall back and get a charge up again. And they're going to go back in for a rinse and repeat scenario here. We have coming out from Luvaskot in the meantime, it's going to be that Mammoth tank production coming out from him. Would not be shocked to see the railgun upgrade here in the very near future. It looks like it's maybe halfway done. I have to imagine that's what he's upgrading. The other ones would not make a whole lot of sense based on what he's got so far. Looks like AdamLallana doesn't necessarily want to de-garrison that structure, so he's just going to go ahead and destroy it straight away. And now he's going to push forward with the Devourer tanks. One is actually pretty low, and they don't want to commit into that Mammoth tank. Though I think this number of Devourer tanks could honestly beat the Mammoth tank. It can take a lot of damage, and it's going to probably remove all of the charge. So that Mammoth tank actually tanking quite a bit of damage. We do have Orcas coming out on the front lines here for Luvaskot, and there's no anti-air defense here aside from just a single storm column coming out from AdamLallana. So able to get a couple of Devourer tank kills, actually manages to focus down the Photon Cannon as well, but a tripod here going to be getting healed up by the Corruptors. Honestly, the Corruptors should be healing up the Harvesters when they're being focused down, but now the Railgun's done here for Luvaskot, and it's just going to be the GDI death roll here as the Railgun, Mammoth tanks, and Predator tanks just rolling forward here. Really not a whole lot out from AdamLallana to hold off against this. Forces a sell-up of a majority of his production for the time being, and he may just be kind of scratching his head wondering where he went wrong. But all the same, we do see some sell-ups of some structures here, and Luvaskot, I mean, he's managed to take out this entire expansion. Should be able to roll through the base of AdamLallana as it's completely undefended, and even if it was defended, that's a lot of railgun tech coming out from him. So the sell-up coming out from AdamLallana, it's looking like game number 2 is going to be going over to Luvaskot. A pretty quick game number 2, 7.5 minutes, just over 7.5 minutes rather, and Luvaskot just showing his power, coming through yet again with another victory here. Maybe AdamLallana getting a little bit unlucky in terms of faction selection. He's drawn Skrin twice here out of the random option, so it's a little bit unfortunate. It doesn't seem like he's the most confident on Skrin, whereas Luvaskot's been playing very well with the GDI faction. So we'll have to see what's coming up in game number 3, but it's do or die for AdamLallana as he is down 2-0 in this best of 5 series, and game number 3 is going to be coming right up. Hello everybody and welcome to game number 3 of this best of 5 semifinal series, and that brings us to the map tournament arena. And spawning in the upper left hand corner, the man that's sitting 2-0 in this series as the Cyan Skrin, we have Luvaskot. And then sliding on down to the bottom right corner as the red GDI, we have AdamLallana. So AdamLallana, it is do or die for him in this game. He's dealt GDI this time around. He's been dealt Skrin twice in a row and has not looked necessarily to have a commanding wow, I don't even know what I'm trying to say. Anyways, we'll just skip right over it. So actually that Rifleman squad doing quite a bit of damage to the Disintegrator squad, and that's not going to be enough. The Buzzers are actually able to kill that off, so the Disintegrator squad should be able to take out that outpost. Oh, it's going to be close. I don't know if they've got the damage output. They're trying desperately to focus it down. This is going to be really close. Is he going to be able to get down his refinery in time? Oh, he saved it with a watchtower drop. Wow, that was insanely close. AdamLallana holding on with just the skin of his teeth in that situation. Meanwhile, Luvaskot untouched over here on the left-hand side. he should be able to get himself a good foothold on that blue Tiberium field. But man, that was looking scary there for AdamLallana here on the right-hand side. He had lost that outpost. That would have put him pretty far behind in terms of blue Tiberium economy. He would have just been able to take his refinery and drop it on his green field, but honestly, if you can get a refinery on the blue field that early, it's going to pay some serious dividends. So took quite a bit of damage, forced out a watchtower, so probably cost-effective there for Luvaskot. Definitely put a lot of pressure on AdamLallana, if nothing else, so we'll see if he can continue to capitalize on that. Luvaskot, I haven't seen him play Scrin just yet today, as we've seen. I think he's been dealt GDI twice in a row, so the tables have been turned here with this GDI versus Scrin matchup, and we're actually seeing an APC dropping mines, as it looks like AdamLallana managed to grab himself the Tiberium Spike away from Luvaskot, so a power from the GDI faction here. And Seeker Tanks actually coming forward, should be able to reveal the mines, so nice accompaniment here from the Seeker Tanks to join that assimilator. Oh, they don't actually kill off all those mines, but it looks like Luvaskot's going to go ahead and kite around them, so leaves the mines around. That's a little bit dangerous, as it does leave a little bit of vision radius as well. Not a lot, that's for sure. A couple of pit bulls coming out from AdamLallana, going to be moving into the blue field here from Luvaskot. Does he have anything to actually defend against this? Forces out a lightning spike drop here. Not going to be able to use that. Not going to be able to use the lightning spike offensively. We have seen Luvaskot be pretty aggressive, so being forced to drop that on the backlines, he's not going to be able to do too much with it. Looks like actually the pit bull is going to be forced away here by the disintegrators here coming out from Luvaskot, and actually AdamLallana may have missed the mark here. He's going to be losing a couple of pit bulls. Maybe one more going to be going down. Yeah, actually all three are going to be going down, and I don't think he's actually managed to kill off anything. Maybe one member of a disintegrator squad, but not going to be paying for themselves at all. Gives a little bit of scouting information, but honestly, that was three pit bulls down the drain for nothing. Yeah, that's not a good pickup, but see AdamLallana, he's producing Predator tanks here. No anti-infantry, so no way of dealing with these disintegrators. They're going to be able to absolutely mow down these Predator tanks, and there's, again, no recourse here coming out from AdamLallana. I mean, if nothing else, just run them over. I mean, you're going to be losing these Predator tanks regardless. Might as well get some kills. In the meantime, these disintegrators are really bunched up. You can honestly just turn around and run them over. He wants to do that, though. He's going to try to keep them alive. Well, no watchtowers coming out from AdamLallana just yet. A watchtower comes down finally, but he's still losing more and more Predator tanks. Could be another Predator tank going down. Now that's going to stay alive. So, again, Luvaskot just out-trading in this situation. Seeker tanks are going to be coming in pretty much unscouted. And actually, no, the Predator tanks here are going to be able to respond. But again, they're just not able to get into position and have the concave, as we do see Luvaskot just kiting them out here. He's doing a great job of just trading effectively, as we see the Seeker tanks, they can't stand up in a one-on-one fight with the Predator tanks, but by kiting around here and just forcing damage onto a whole bunch of different portions of the base here from AdamLallana, it's just forcing out such a heavy response. Now these Predator tanks kind of all over the map, forces two harvesters off the line. Those are both full of Tiberium as well, so pretty significant loss in terms of mining time. Didn't actually lose the harvesters themselves, but all the same, they're not doing their job by actually turning in that Tiberium into cash. Shock Troopers coming out now for Luvaskot. Like he wants to make something happen here. Not sure what that's going to be. It looks like he's going for a gravity stabilizer as well. I'm not quite sure what he's got planned. He does have a mastermind out on the field, so tier 3 tech up here for Luvaskot. Pretty lackluster mid-game here, as we see these guys just trying to mass up units. Luvaskot, he's got a clear direction of where he wants to go with this by the looks of it, but AngelOfDeath, he's just pumped out a bunch of Predator tanks and said, come at me, bro. And we do have some infantry out as well, but honestly, the forces of AdamLallana really kind of spread out, maybe respecting the fact that Luvaskot has superior map presence at the moment due to the fact that those Seeker tanks are quite a bit quicker. And now Luvaskot looking to rectify the Tiberium Spike issue as he takes out Tiberium Spike down in the bottom of the map. He's actually managed to capture that Tiberium Spike in the north. A couple of Shock Troopers camping out up here as well. It looks like they're on a rally point, so maybe just trying to stay out of vision of AdamLallana, but they're going to be exposed now, and they do manage to focus down the remainder of those mines that were left over from the APC mine drop. A couple of Seeker tanks rolling in here. Still no response coming out from AdamLallana just yet. A couple of watchtowers going to be dropped here for him, but a couple of harvesters going to be taking a bit of poke here as well. Doesn't look like they're going to be going down, and a couple of Seeker tanks going to be going down in response. It looks like one Seeker tank was left behind. But some good scouting information pulls the entire army of AdamLallana out of position, and now these avatars joined by the shock trooper, or rather tripods joined by the shock troopers, going to be coming forward. Should be able to get, again, cost-effective trades here, despite the fact that there are missile squads coming out from AdamLallana. Needs to be careful, though. That watchtower is actually getting a decent bit of kills on these shock troopers, and needs to be focused down a lot sooner than the rocket squads do. The DPS from that is very significant. And now we have shock troopers here coming out from Luvaskot up in the top of the map. GG coming in from AdamLallana, and that's going to be it. Luvaskot taking a 3-0 victory in this series and picking himself up a game here on Tournament Arena. So again, just a commanding victory from Luvaskot, just able to pull AdamLallana completely out of position and just punish that mistake by going in and trading again all over the map. So just great control there from Luvaskot. And if you take a look, the unit KD ratio, that should say it in all on its own. 1.88 going in favor of Luvaskot to the 0.53 of AdamLallana. So unfortunately, not able to make anything happen in this series. He goes down 3-0, but Luvaskot is going to be moving on, I believe, to the finals. Yeah, as that was the semifinal. So Luvaskot, he is in the finals. We'll be facing off against whoever is on the other side of the bracket, and we'll be checking in on that momentarily, everybody, so be sure to stick around. Hello, everybody, and welcome to game number 1 of this best of 5 semifinal series, and that brings us to the map Pipeline Problems. And spawning in the top as the orange GDI, we have Sjon. And then down in the bottom of the map as the pink screen, we have Shocktreatment. So it is 0-0 right now. Pipeline Problems is going to be the first map, and let me just double check to make sure that I've got my factions right here, and that is correct. So I did make a mistake earlier. I do apologize, everybody, as that was not intended. But all the same, we have not made that mistake moving forward. And it's going to be Sjon versus Shocktreatment. This is game number 1, so we get to catch the whole semifinal here, as we just caught the semifinals between Luvaskot and AdamLallana on the other side of the bracket. So if you did miss that, just rewind the stream and check those games out. They were pretty interesting. And I won't spoil them for you in case you did miss it. But all the same, it's just going to be standard opener here from both players. Going to be going for that blue Tiberium. Not terribly shocking. And what else do we have coming out here? Interesting to see if Sjon maybe goes for some early game APC engineers. That would not be a terrible thing to see. But Shocktreatment, he's no slouch, man. I mean, I'm interested to see how this one shakes out. Shocktreatment is very good with Scrin, and I mean, he's just very good across the board in this particular game. So, doesn't actually have the base creep fully into this Tiberium field like we normally see. So, maybe a little bit of a difference here from Shocktreatment from other players. But actually, Sjon not expanding all the way in there either. So, looks like either one of these guys was really looking to get a refinery directly in that blue Tiberium field. So, it's going to be a little bit slower harvesting, but it's very, very little to worry about, as we do see 2 refineries on the green field here for Sjon, and then a third refinery. It looks like it was actually being used as a building creep a little bit here for Sjon. It looks like he should be getting some economy established on this green field in the near future. Sending his... his engineer could potentially be getting sniped here if Shocktreatment was paying attention. Should have had vision of that. I don't think he does, and unfortunately that's a missed opportunity there for Shocktreatment. Going to be missing out on a chance to actually kill that off. Well, it looks like Shocktreatment's just trying to make sure that he's not getting caught with his pants down as far as APC engineers go. I think that engineer was still alive, as I did still have it selected. So, actually, Sjon, he's not grabbed his Tiberium spike yet. It looks like he forgot about the engineer for a second. We'll have to see if maybe it goes down if he's not paying attention. That's actually a pretty big loss, because, I mean, that's 25 credits a second. That could be in the bank for him right now, and not the case. Also, harvesters stacking up here on refineries while one refinery is not being used. Minor stuff, but it's just going to be economy loss there for Sjon. We do see Predator tanks facing off against Seeker tanks. Predator tanks going to be coming out on top, despite the superior numbers advantage here coming out from Shocktreatment, as he's actually trading pretty cost effectively, but forces the repair drone drop here from Shocktreatment. And he should be able to stay alive, I think, against these Predator tanks, but honestly, they're just so tanky, and these Seeker tanks just do so little damage. Not pulling those off the line just quickly enough, trying to keep them in firing range for as long as possible, but honestly, those 2 remaining Seeker tanks, just a stopgap here for Shocktreatment in the meantime. He's more than likely teching behind this, already has Tier 3, has a Devastator warship, has tripods rolling through the middle of the map. He's going to be looking to get a kill on some harvesters here, and wow, actually he's got a pretty scary looking force that's coming forward, as we only see the Tier 1 army coming out from Sjon so far. Predator tanks rolling around the backside of the map here, or rather the backside of this army, but honestly these tripods are all in range, and the Devastator warship is firing on them as well, so this is actually very, very good trades coming out from Shocktreatment for the time being. He's actually going for a massive base creep. He's already got a stasis chamber on the front lines here. Not sure what his intention is for the full-on base creep here. Going for a mothership strategy or not. No, it doesn't look like he is. I might be. I'm not sure what that is that's being built at the moment, but I doubt it. I mean, it'd be pretty unusual to see that coming out this early. Usually that's a pretty late game strategy, but all the same, Devastator warships is really nothing to deal with them, as we do see them actually getting shields as well, so be keeping that tripod alive at just the most opportune time as well, because now that that tiny bit of HP left on that tripod will be augmented by an additional shield that is pretty much the entire HP bar as well. So now these harvesters being taken down with no recourse coming out from Sjon, and there's just nothing here. I mean, he transitioned into orcas, but there's just really nothing to actually focus down the Devastator warships, which are really doing the majority of the infrastructure damage. These tripods on the front lines are really just tanking, and honestly, they're getting Harvester kills as well. There's just no answer coming out from Sjon at the moment. Orcas come in, they're going to focus down one of the tripods and get a single bomb off on another one, but honestly, that's 4 Orcas being used to kill off 1 tripod. And honestly, these Harvesters are still coming forward and harvesting with no response coming out from Sjon. He's got some Predator tanks, but he doesn't seem to want to commit into this. I don't necessarily blame him. I mean, they're not really going to be able to do much against that number of tripods. It looks like 1 tripod did go down. Mastermind trying to teleport something in. I think he was trying to teleport the assimilator forward, but must have mismicroed there. That's a little bit unfortunate, but too much to be concerned with. Predator tank's actually getting a pretty nice concave, but honestly they're getting a concave on shock troopers, and that's not what you want to be seeing right now. Annihilator tripod's actually pretty heavily damaged. Repair drones out on the front lines for shock treatment, going to be looking to keep those guys healthy and on the front lines for as long as possible. Well played coming out from Sjon, so it's looking like he's going to throw in the towel, and shock treatment is going to be picking up a commanding game number 1. So quick and simple game number 1 going in favor of shock treatment. That's going to be 6 minutes and 40 seconds on the books. And there was really no recourse coming out from Sjon. I mean, he had a few tier 1 units and he just immediately lost them all to a couple of tripods. So great transition from shock treatment early on. Managed to capitalize on it by just continuing to punish him for some mistakes made. And with that said, that's going to be bringing us into game number 2. Score is 1-0 in favor of shock treatment moving forward. Have to see if maybe he can extend that lead, or if Sjon can even up the score here in game number 2. Alright everybody, and welcome to game number 2 of this best of 5 semifinal series, and that brings us to the map Tournament Tower. And spawning in the upper left hand corner, coming off of a victory in the last game as the pink GDI, we have Shock Treatment. And then down in the bottom right corner as the orange Nod, we have Sjon. So if you guys were quick, you saw my my second monitor for some reason, because my hotkeys are totally screwed up. So you guys got to see all of my production stuff going on in the background. If you're ever wondering what my screens look like on the other side of things, that's what they look like. But anyways, getting that out of the way. Nod actually finally featuring in a game here, so it's going to be a classic GDI versus Nod. Whoa! Whoa, whoa, whoa! So straight up to Tier 2, straight into an airfield, and straight into Bloodhounds coming out from Shock Treatment. Engineer running forward as well. This is really... I mean, this was obviously prepared for Shock Treatment. That's scary looking right there. He's obviously done this before, so we'll have to see if he ends up making it work out. It doesn't look like... I mean, Sjon, he's got to be aware that something's going on. I mean, you must see that this looks a little bit odd. Actually, that Raider Buggy taking a surprising amount of damage just from the guns on the harvesters. It looks like Shock Treatment's going to be trying to put some pressure on these harvesters as well as potentially get himself a refinery capture here. Actually drops off the engineer, tries to force the sell-off of the refinery. Oh man, Shock Treatment, he's playing with fire right here. He's trying to force the sell-off, but he may allow Sjon enough of an opportunity here to actually get out a Shredder turret. That could be really bad. Shredder turrets, they're able to fire. Oh my goodness, the control here coming out from Shock Treatment is just so good. He gets the War Factory too, and that was really, really good from Shock Treatment. He managed to dance that engineer in and out, but Sjon just would not bite. Did not want to allow Shock Treatment to actually force any sell-offs. But in the meantime, we have bikes coming in from Sjon on the back lines. Look like they managed to take out one harvester at least. Forces a sell-off of a refinery at the main for Shock Treatment. He's going to be forced to respond with a watchtower here, and honestly, that's a decent amount of damage done to the economy of Shock Treatment as well. And he's already behind because he went for that early game move with the cheeky APC engineers in the form of Bloodhounds. What else do we have going on? Bloodhound's still alive. Wow, okay, so Shock Treatment really getting these to pay dividends. If he takes out that harvester, that's full of Tiberium too. That's a big loss there for Sjon, and he has no way of responding to this. He's sitting here dealing with a bunker, and that's... Oh, he's going to be losing another harvester. Is that all of the harvesters? Oh my goodness. Okay, so the Pitbull went down just before that harvester was killed off, so it was not able to continue to reveal it. That harvester is still alive. Needs to be careful though. If he drives over those mines, that's sayonara to that harvester. What's been going on the other side of the map? It looks like some bikes came in from Sjon in response to try to deal with these harvesters. Try to respond to that with a little bit of economy damage of his own. Sjon not willing to move that harvester. He's like, all right, I've kept it alive with like 2 HP. I'm not going to risk it by moving it. We'll just keep that hanging out. So honestly, that harvester may as well be dead. It's not doing anything, so it's effectively dead for the time being. See if he's able to get that back into production here. It looks like he has forgotten about it. A couple of rifleman squads looks like they're just kind of chilling out on the sides of the map here. Want to get some scouting information for Shock Treatment. Wants to make sure that he's not going to get caught by some bikes coming around the bottom side of the map. See, it looks like it's going to be Scorpion tanks actually rolling through the bottom of the map. Will Shock Treatment see this coming? I don't think he's actually got vision of this. Not sure if the vision has actually receded from those rifleman squads coming in. But 4 Scorpion tanks, not going to be enough to do any crippling amount of damage here. Actually only poking a tiny bit of damage onto that harvester. Could be losing a Scorpion tank there if it does not cut and run quickly enough. It looks like he runs over that rifleman squad as well. That Scorpion tank will be going down, so Sjon getting out-traded pretty heavily here in this game. He has done a little bit of economy damage, but not too much to worry about. Honestly, oh, this harvester. He's going to drive over this minefield. I've got to see it. APC engineer coming in here from Shock Treatment as well. Going to be looking to do some additional damage here. What is he going to be going for? It looks like he's looking for tech. Could honestly take a refinery here. That wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, but I think he is he's really looking to snipe the tier 3. And honestly, that would be a really good pickup at this stage in the game. As we do see our infantry coming out from Sjon. Oh, actually gets the MCV. Shock Treatment gets the MCV. That's massive. MCV going down, and Sjon saying, oh, and it forces the sell-off of the tier 2. So Shock Treatment, the engineer APC, is just doing so much damage. Forces the sell-off just due to the fact that Shock Treatment managed to save that engineer from the sold-off MCV. Oh man, this is devastating. Shock Treatment, he's still got his MCV. He's got tier 3, and he's looking very, very good in this game. Could potentially be putting himself up 2-0 in this series if it continues to go this way for him. Rocket squads, no, actually it looks like the rocket squads were... No, okay, there's no rocket squads in there. Just a rifleman squad going to be running forward here. It looks like the logistics center is not going to be de-garrisoned in time. The Black Hand squad will, in fact, kill them off. Falls in the sniper team support power, so they're going to be coming in. 3 veteran sniper teams on the back lines. Oh, actually, APC engineer coming forward. It looks like they managed to actually grab the War Factory. from Sjon, but not before that MCV came out. If that had gotten the War Factory before the MCV came out, that would have been GG. Because honestly, the only production coming out from Sjon at the moment is the Hand of Nod. So lots of rifleman squads, but honestly, the sniper teams on the backlines, they're gonna do a lot of damage, and there's really no way of dealing with them at the time being. I mean, there's no raider buggies, no shadow teams, no possibility of any damage being put out on these sniper teams that could potentially kill them. Looks like there's just still a couple of squads here from Shocktreatment around the map. So he's got a couple of rifleman squads just hanging out on the edges of the map, just making sure he's not being flanked with any kind of a crazy strategy. But the Predator tank's just going to roll forward here, realizing that he can trade really cost ineffectively here, and it's still going to work out in his favor. That Harvester actually exposing itself for a second there and going to get focused down straight away. Mine drop coming in, does manage to kill itself. 3 Predator tanks could be claiming some more as they roll over that minefield. But Railgun's done here for Shocktreatment. He should be able to just run forward and kill off the remainder of this base. Honestly, Railgun's pretty good against infantry as well, and this is not looking good for Sjon. He's losing a lot of infrastructure. MCV is in prime position to be either destroyed or captured again. To see, and Shocktreatment actually coming forward with Firehawks as well. Looks like he's going to bomb the refinery on the back line. Should be able to take that out with one set of bombs, as there's no tier 2 out from Sjon. And GG, well played coming in from Sjon, and that's going to be game number 2, going over to Shocktreatment. So game 2 going over to Shocktreatment. He's looking pretty good so far today. He's up 2-0 in this series. Could potentially be closing it out here with game number 3. But not much more to be said. I mean, all the outplays coming in from Shocktreatment, managing to grab the early game War Factory, grabbing an MCV, and then also forcing a sell-off of the tier 2 later in the game. Just so very good from Shocktreatment. We'll have to see what's coming out from Sjon and Shocktreatment in game number 3, and that's coming up right now, everybody, so be sure to stick around. Hello everybody and welcome to game number 3 of this best of 5 semifinal series, and that brings us to the map Tournament Arena. And spawning in the upper left hand corner, the man that is up 2-0 in this series so far as the pink, or rather, it's going to be pink nod, we have Shocktreatment. And then down in the bottom right corner as the yellow, Vanilla Scrin, except it's not vanilla, it's just Scrin. And that's down 0-2, it's going to be Sjon. It is 0-2 for Sjon at the moment. It is do or die for him. It is a best of 5 series, so he needs to make something happen in this game. We'll pull up the mini-map now and take a look and see what's going on around the map. Looks like it is going to be a patented screen opener here for Sjon, as he does open with a Disintegrator squad as well as a couple of buzzers to join him on the other side. Actually, an Operations Center straight into an air tower here for shock treatment, so deciding to change up his build a little bit here, as he's actually dropped his refinery pretty far back in comparison to what you would normally see. Not sure what the air tower is for. Is he going to be getting out some kind of an early venom or something to deal with disintegrators? This is unusual, to say the least. I don't really know what the plan is with the air tower. It's different. Okay, so the air tower just being used, I guess, to base creep a little bit. We don't see anything actually being built off of it, but meantime, it looks like Sjon has got himself to a comfortable lead here early game with the, oh my goodness, okay, now I know what the airfield was for. It's actually for a cheeky carry-all engineer, and that's actually going to be able to get itself a refinery capture. He's able to capture it, he sells it off instead of actually trying to drop a barracks there to actually capture anything else. The shock treatment with all the crazy moves today, as he does get a cheeky capture of that refinery on the blue field, but wasn't before Sjon was able to get another refinery there. So he's got vision here with the buzzer from the sold off refinery, but honestly, there's still 2 harvesters and 1 refinery on that blue field, so he's going to be feeling pretty good about that. There is a Black Hand squad here from the sold off Operations Center, going to be able to take out the Tiberium spike here for Sjon. So shock treatment, I mean, he's not looking too bad. That was an early game decision that he made to go for a really cheeky early game cheese, but I don't know. It's going to be difficult for Sjon to deal with it. He's got a decent number of seeker tanks out on the map, and we'll have to see if shock treatment's early game move here is going to be able to pay dividends for him over time. And we only see 3 of these Scorpion tanks out on the line here for shock treatment, as he's trying desperately to hold against these seeker tanks. Could potentially be seeing the repair drones being called in here from Sjon in the near future. Meanwhile, what's going on the other side of the map? It looks like it is just a buzzer continuing to put a little bit of damage on those harvesters, but harvesters being focused down here from shock treatment, but they are going to survive. Lightning spike finally comes down here from Sjon. He's trading very effectively against these Scorpion tanks coming out from shock treatment, and I'm thinking shock treatment was really hoping to eliminate the harvesting completely on that expansion, and that's not going to be the case. So I'm thinking, honestly, that's what the plan was with that early game carry-all engineer, but I don't know. I mean, he's losing a lot of units right now. He's holding the line, but going to be losing more and more harvesters, and his economy is way behind because of the way he's had to place his refineries. He does have 2 refineries on his main field, but meanwhile, while Sjon is ravaging this base, he's able to pretty much do whatever he wants in his base, and he's already up to tier 2. Hasn't creeped to the middle yet to expand his economy. Actually, you know what? If shock treatment manages to hold this off, could be in pretty good shape here. You do see actually rocket squads coming out on the front lines, forces out the Buzzer Swarm support power. They get 1 rocket squad straight away, but second rocket squad will get away. Another rocket squad will go down. Shredder turret drop here from shock treatment, going to be able to keep the remainder of his infantry alive. Looks like more seeker tanks coming in here from Sjon, going to be continuing to add on to this force, just replacing the units that are going down. And Sjon is just trying to focus down the Scorpion tanks and just continue to focus them down over time. But honestly, the more and more of these militant rocket squads that come out, it's going to be good. But GG coming in from shock treatment, and Sjon actually picks himself up a game number 3. So shock treatment trying to get fancy with that carry-all engineer. Does get a refinery for his trouble, but honestly, it just puts him so far behind of that of Sjon, and his economy just wasn't able to keep up. And let's just take a quick look at the resources. Yeah, you can see Sjon just absolutely skyrocketed over the top of shock treatment, gathering I think more than 2 times the resources, or close to 2 times the resources that shock treatment was able to grab. So that just equaled out to early game advantage that Sjon decided not to squander, and just put a ton of pressure on shock treatment, out trading him because of the fact that he had just significantly more units on the field. So good move there from Sjon to pick up a game number 3, and that's going to be putting him down 1-2 to shock treatment at the moment, and game number 4 is going to be coming right up. Hello, everybody, and welcome to game number 4 of this best of 5 semifinal series, and that brings us to the map Tournament Dust Bowl. And spawning in the top of the map, man that's up 2-1 in this series as the pink GDI, we have Shocktreatment. And then down in the bottom of the map as the orange Scrin, we have Sjon. Sjon picked himself up a game in game number 3 here, and he's not out of this one yet, but it is still do or die for him in this game. He needs to win every game coming up. He needs to win this one and the game number 5 as well if he's looking to stay in this tournament. Shocktreatment, on the other hand, he can throw this game away and still potentially come out with a victory in the series if he manages to pick up game number 5. Bear actually going all the way onto the Tiberium field, not sure where he's intending to go. I mean, this is risky. There is an assimilator here from Sjon. He's looking like he's just going to be trying to grab himself a Tiberium spike. But Shocktreatment, he could potentially be getting himself an early game economy advantage. He does have a crane as well as an MCV. Not sure where that... Okay, so that Surveyor's headed all the way down and around. Looks like he may try to get like a proxy war factory or something down here. Yeah, I don't quite know what the deal is with that Surveyor. No, he's going to deploy right there and doesn't necessarily want to go too far. So Shocktreatment going with all the crazy stuff here early today to see if he's able to make that one work out. Sjon probably doesn't even know that that's necessarily happening, as he hasn't sent anything over to deal with it, and doesn't look like he's making any kind of a posture to put out any offensive units at the moment. So just content with ecoing up for the time being. Have to see if Shocktreatment's able to get this surprise outpost to really start paying off for him. He's got a proxy war factory now and sells off the outpost straight away, and more than likely when Sjon sees that, he's going to panic a little bit. He doesn't really have anything to deal with it at the time being. We have going on here for Shocktreatment. It looks like he's just dealing with some scouts in his base. He's going to manage to clean up 2 buzzers with just a single watchtower drop, so that's a nice pickup there for Shocktreatment. Good split with the positioning of that watchtower. Well, what else do we have coming out from Sjon? So still no vision of this, as now there's double war factory here coming out from Shocktreatment. Looks like it's been spotted here by Sjon, as I think that extractor has a view radius of the double war factory. But now the Predator tank should be able to focus down the refineries pretty quickly. Honestly, could be focusing down harvesters instead, but it looks like he's maybe trying to delay the base creep coming out from Sjon. And let me just make sure that I've got the names of these guys right. Okay, I do. I was just really concerned that I was getting this backwards here, but Shocktreatment, he's continuing to focus down the extractor. He's going to get an extractor for his trouble here. We'll have to see if he's able to get much more, and he's going to continue to creep forward with these war factories here. He has 3 war factories on the front lines now, so he's going to be able to put a lot of pressure on this base. Forces out a photon cannon drop, forces out a second warp sphere as well, and seeker tanks being thrown to their death. We do see the Devourer tanks coming forward. One gets focused down straight away by the Great Concave here from Shocktreatment. Going to be able to focus these guys down very quickly, and actually Shocktreatment, it's looking like this is paying huge dividends, as we see he's absolutely crushing this base. Sjon giving props, saying nice move, and that's going to be it. Shocktreatment taking game number 4 and the series. That was just a straight up great move from Shocktreatment. There's no way that Sjon saw that. Had it been spotted, it probably could have turned on its head there for Shocktreatment, but all the same, I mean, it was just a good early game move. It was risky, but it paid off, and that's kind of how it goes in these games. He gambled on the fact that Sjon wouldn't scout over in that area, and he was right. So Shocktreatment really making that one work out to his advantage. 3 minutes and 42 seconds there for our game number 4, and that's going to end that series there. Shocktreatment going to be moving on to the finals, taking a 3-1 victory here over Sjon. And that's going to bring us into the finals here, everybody. So it's going to be Shocktreatment versus Luvaskot here for our finals. And both of these players have been looking very, very good throughout the course of the day here today. So looking very forward to these finals games. And that's going to be a best of 7 series coming up momentarily, everybody. So be sure to stick around. Hello everybody and welcome to game number 1 of this best of 7 final series, and that brings us to the map Tournament Coastline. And spawning in the upper left corner as the green nod, we have Luvaskot. And then sliding on down to the bottom right corner as the... what's it going to be? As the pink GDI, we have Shocktreatment. This 0-0 game number 1 best of 7 series. Going to be kicking off on Tournament Coastline, a map that I don't think that I've ever seen as far as a competitive match goes, so I'm looking forward to it. Again, I'm pretty new to Tiberium Wars as far as casting goes. Obviously, I've not played almost any of the game, but have a working knowledge of how the game operates, and have seen a few matches so far, so seen a pretty good turnout for this tournament so far, and I'm looking forward to this matchup pretty significantly, as we do have Luvaskot and Shocktreatment, two very, very strong players, and they're both playing very well today. Shocktreatment going for an early pack-up and expands off to the middle. Not quite sure what his plan is, but again, I'm not going to speculate, as I don't know this map particularly well as far as what builds work, what builds don't, and it looks like the forward war factory here for Luvaskot's kind of signaling to me that he was going for some type of a base creep, but it looks like it was actually an early game outpost here from Luvaskot to get his refinery established on his expansion. On the other side of things, it was Shocktreatment expanding out to the middle of the map. So going for a much more aggressive expansion could have been punished a lot more severely, as he did go for that outpost early on. And Shocktreatment, he's moved his MCB to the middle of the map, maybe going to be using that to expand up to the top of the map in the near future. But big difference here is, I mean, obviously there's a lot more Tiberium on this field, so the amount of harvesting time is pretty significantly larger than these corner fields, and also these corner fields are a lot easier to defend. So I mean, as you get later into the game, you want to be harvesting on somewhere that's a little bit easier to defend versus these fields that are going to be much more difficult to defend, because the majority of the fighting is going to occur in the middle of the map here. At least that's what I'm predicting. We'll have to see if maybe Shocktreatment can force the engagements a little bit more on the side of Luvaskot's base here. That's really what you want to be doing in these situations. Pitbull getting a great scout here, as he's going to be able to get a decent amount of poke on some harvesters here. Also get a good count on how many there are, so he knows that he's not being rushed by bikes or anything like that. But he will be paying for that with a Pitbull potentially. That Raider Buggy's going to give chase, but he has gone into heavy damage mode. He's not actually going to be able to continue to chase. Almost goes down there. He's going to be pulled off the line there. Luvaskot controlling well enough to actually pull that back. Doesn't want to lose it necessarily, and I just realized my music's a touch too loud, so I'm going to turn it down a little bit. But anyways, we have two war factories here on the front lines for Shocktreatment in the meantime, and we have a couple of garrisons grabbed by Luvaskot, so it's going to be a little bit annoying there for Shocktreatment. He's going to have to deal with these garrisons. He's potentially going to be losing his Pitbull because of these garrisons as well, so should be paying for themselves here pretty quickly. Will he actually turn and fire on it? Yeah, Luvaskot, he actually does change targets there. Doesn't actually take out the Pitbull there, so great control from Shocktreatment to actually keep that alive. They'll still have two refineries cranking away down here. Does have his crane building as well, so again, pretty slow openers here from both players. It looks like we do have an engineer running down to grab the Tiberium spike here for Luvaskot. We have an engineer coming out from Shocktreatment, so yeah, same thing for Shocktreatment. So really the big difference here so far in this game is the fact that Luvaskot expanded to the safer expansion versus Shocktreatment expanding out to the middle of the map and looking to grab that harvesting time kind of untouched so far early on here. That could have been punished pretty heavily by Luvaskot, but it doesn't look like that's going to be the case. Going to be rocket squads out to deal with the Pitbulls here coming out from Shocktreatment. Luvaskot, he should be able to hold the line against these Pitbulls pretty easily. They're both pretty heavily damaged, and honestly, one more rocket volley from either one of those rocket squads should be able to take down those Pitbulls pretty quickly. Still not a whole lot of production in the way of Shocktreatment here, as we do see a refinery creep actually out towards Luvaskot's expansion, so maybe trying to capitalize and grab some of the Tiberium off of this green field from Luvaskot. What do we have going on the backside of things? Looks like a couple of Scorpion tanks made their way all the way around the map here, somehow managed to make it into the expansion, or rather the main base of Shocktreatment. Actually forces a couple of harvesters to be pulled off the line, more than likely sent to the middle of the map anyways, and yeah, he's going to continue to the base creep towards the middle. Luvaskot, in the meantime, he's expanded towards the center as well, so there's going to be a fight over this field as far as who's able to harvest off of it. So honestly, a good idea here for Luvaskot would be to send either some infantry or joined by bikes. I'd love to see some bikes coming through here and harass these harvesters while he puts the pressure on Shocktreatment trying to grab this Tiberium. We have a mine drop coming in from Luvaskot. I think it's a mine drop. Could be a Tiberium Vapor Bomb. That'd be a lot of damage. Tiberium Vapor Bomb going to be on the cards there. Takes out the Tier 2 straight away. And he's going to be able to keep these Scorpion tanks alive just a touch longer. Fortunately, isn't able to put too much damage onto those Predator tanks. You do see that last Scorpion tank. It is going to be getting focused down. But now, the majority of the fighting is occurring in the middle of the map. And we do have rocket squads facing off against rocket squads here. And we're going to be seeing the Predator tanks looking to join the fight as they're coming in from the back lines. But honestly, they need to focus down these structures, and they need to focus them down quickly. Shocktreatment needs to get out a Tier 2, and he needs to start pumping out some Grenadier squads, get these garrisons back into his own hands, or just focus them down. I guess that's another good option for him, as he's going to be doing that. Harvesters returning from grabbing some long-distance mining on this field, but we do have stealth tanks coming out from Luvaskot. First time we've seen stealth tanks in this tournament so far today, at least in the games that we've cast. So we'll have to see if he's able to take out some Harvesters. That's more than likely where they're headed. You have Predator tanks going to be pushing forward here, but Obelisk coming down from Luvaskot should be able to hold off against this. 2 Predator tanks being sacrificed to the Obelisk. A third one probably going to be going down. 3 Predator tanks going down to a single Obelisk. That's not good at all. 3 of these stealth tanks going to be coming in. Should be able to kill off a decent number of Harvesters. Going to be able to kill off all of the Harvesters on this field. May actually force a sell-up of one of the refineries here from Shocktreatment. Now Pitbull's coming in. Actually a very good counter to the very expensive stealth tanks. Going to be taking down 1 stealth tank, but they do manage to kill off 2 Harvesters, and that's in a safe position there for Shocktreatment. So Luvaskot's going to be feeling pretty good about that. Needs to be careful not to lose too many more of those stealth tanks. Now we have the infantry army here from Shocktreatment going to be pushing forward, taking out the garrisons as they push forward. He is joined by a Grenadier squad. It looks like it is being focused down by the Obelisk, though. So the Obelisk being focused down now by rocket squads as well as Grenadiers on the front lines. And he's going to continue to press forward. More than likely going to start seeing some Shredder turrets coming out from Luvaskot. We do have some Avatars coming forward as well, so it's looking like that Predator army that had made its way across the map did get shut down. They have been forced back into their expansion base here. We do have artillery coming out for Shocktreatment in the form of Juggernauts. Should be able to focus down these Avatars. The Avatar does take out 1 Predator tank and should get away for its trouble. We do see the Grenadier squad just putting a little bit of damage. No EMP grenades here in Tiberium Wars, so we will not be seeing that coming out from Shocktreatment. Ooh, huge stealth field coming in from Luvaskot. Going to be able to kill off a majority of the infantry there for Shocktreatment, so a little bit unfortunate positioning there with his infantry army. He loses almost all of it to a single support power, and that was actually a pretty devastating one-click there coming out from Luvaskot. More infantry here to contend against these Avatars from Luvaskot, and Shocktreatment, he's trying desperately to hold the line, manages to take out 1 of the Avatars, and Railgun's done now for him. That should actually turn the tide of this battle a little bit for him, as we do have Sonic Emitters down as well. That's a lot of damage output coming out from Shocktreatment, and this is getting a little bit messy, but again, this is how these fights go when it's pretty even as far as economy goes. Shocktreatment, he's getting a lot of damage done with these Juggernauts. Manages to focus down all of the Avatars. 1 more will be going down here momentarily. 1 more shot from these Juggernauts will take it out. And Shocktreatment has managed to beat back the army of Luvaskot. Another Avatar going to be coming forward. Honestly, yeah, I should just focus down the Avatar Husk. That's exactly what he's going to do. Nice move there from Luvaskot. Going to be preventing those from going into the hands of Shocktreatment. But Obelisk being focused down pretty quickly here by the Juggernauts, joined by the Sonic Emitter. And the Sonic Emitter actually taking out some structures on the back side of things. It looks like it was... no, I thought for a second there that it was force firing, but it is not, in fact, force firing. But looks like Luvaskot's actually going to throw in the GG as Shocktreatment was harassing on the back side of things. So Shocktreatment picking up a game number 1. Honestly, I thought that game was going kind of in favor of Luvaskot, but he just wasn't able to take out enough of those Juggernauts to really make that push worthwhile, and Shocktreatment managed to hold the line and then counterattacked with some Pitbull Harass and take out some Harvesters of Luvaskot, and he just didn't have any way of dealing with it. So instead of trying to survive an onslaught from Shocktreatment coming in a little bit later in the game, he just decides to throw in the towel, going to try his luck in game number 2, and that's going to be coming up momentarily, everybody, so be sure to stick around. us to the map, Tournament Rift. And spawning on the left-hand side, the man that is down 1-0 so far in this series as the blue nod, as I completely forget what faction he is. It's Luvaskot. And then sliding over to the right-hand side of the map, the man that's up 1-0 as the pink GDI, we have Shocktreatment. And he is listed as Shocktopus on the scoreboard, but that is just for the sake of shortening up his name a little bit, and that's obviously the name that he's smurfing as well in-game, so you may see that name floating around if you play Tiberium Wars. Time to time, he does play a few games of Tiberium Wars. Actually a very prominent player in the Tiberium Wars scene, obviously. Luvaskot, no slouch whatsoever, but honestly an engineer probably going to be going down here. Shocktreatment doesn't seem to see it. He does see it now, and he's actually going to get himself an engineer. He's trying to get the militant squad, but isn't able to kill it off before it's able to get into that bunker. So Luvaskot may be capitalizing on a pretty serious mistake, just trying to make the best of it. And we do have an APC engineer rolling through the middle of the map here for Shocktreatment. Probably going to be some bikes out to deal with that. Yeah, I would have to imagine that Luvaskot was expecting that. Pretty prominent map for APC engineers. Not terribly shocking to see that Luvaskot read this like a book and be sending out some early game bikes to deal with it. Does actually lose a bike, though. That's not effective. Loses 2 bikes, and the engineer is going to survive. Manages to get himself into the foxhole there, so Shocktreatment killing off 2 bikes there, losing only an APC for his trouble, too. We have coming on down here, we have just a rifleman squad that's going to be getting a scout here for Shocktreatment to be able to run through the base of Luvaskot. What else do we have going on here down in the south? We do have APC engineers coming out from Shocktreatment. He's going to be able to grab himself both Tiberium spikes, no problem. Actually, that APC... Okay, I thought for a second there that it didn't have an engineer, but it does. So both of those APC engineers going to be able to grab the Tiberium spikes. 1 bike rolling through the bottom of the map, more than likely just being used for some scouting information. Probably just going to be sent to its death as, honestly, those bikes get focused down pretty quickly. Shocktreatment gets a nice foxhole in the base of Luvaskot, going to be giving himself quite a bit of information here. May force out a Tier 2 sell-off here coming out from Luvaskot if he's able to get too much scouting information here early on, but I don't see any kind of an expansion down to the expansion field here for Luvaskot. That he's expanding out towards the middle, sending out 2 war factories here, and a couple of bikes going to be out to de-garrison this foxhole. So not a bad idea, honestly. Probably a Tier 2 sell-off would be a little bit too costly for killing off 1 rifleman squad. Not worthwhile, but that rifleman squad's going to be allowed to stay alive, and he's actually going to chase down the MCV, just poking at its heels. Not a whole lot more to be said there, but engineer finally does go down there for Shocktreatment. It looks like he was trying to send that in, just a walking engineer capture. That would have been pretty scary, but not able to really capitalize on it. But hey, it forced out a couple of bikes to deal with it. APC engineer going down there to the bike buggy from Luvaskot. Another APC engineer could be going down here, so maybe Shocktreatment not really respecting Luvaskot's early game presence here and loses a decent number of APC engineers, and those engineers are $500 a piece. I believe that actually that rifleman squad foxhole, interestingly enough. It's going down there. Shocktreatment should be able to hold pit bulls, but that Luvaskot is able to micro properly and definitely can. The base attack here, or maybe doesn't want to necessarily engage in the pit bulls without. We have Scorpion tanks coming out on the front lines as well. It's joined by a couple of Raider buggies. They should be the tanking lines that Luvaskot was looking for. And now he's going to turn the turrets and start killing off some of these pit bulls here from Shocktreatment. Manages to kill off 1 pit bull, but Shocktreatment decides not to overcommit and falls back there. Wise decision. Doesn't want to lose too many of those pit bulls early on, but all the same, we do have a couple of Predator tanks that look like they have been spotted by a single rifleman squad that was being used to scout here for Shocktreatment. He's going to go back for some additional scouting information or may get focused down. I'm not quite sure what was going on, but we do have the bike buggy going to be killing off 1 of the Tiberium spikes, probably just going to turn around and kill the second one as well. Eliminate that as an economy threat here for Shocktreatment. So nice move from Luvaskot to eliminate that as an issue. And he should be able to take that down before he loses too many of these bikes. Yeah, he's going to lose that, and then he's probably going to fall back straight away, as he does lose a decent number of Raider buggies there. Needs to be careful, though. Another Raider buggy going to be thrown into the mix. But honestly, 2 Tiberium spikes for the cost of a couple of Raider buggies and maybe a bike or 2. Not a terrible trade. And now Luvaskot, he's actually got a decent number of Scorpion tanks here. Getting a good concave on this Predator tank. And actually trading 1 for 1 in that situation. Not the best idea. I mean, Predator tanks if you had a situation where you were trading exactly one Scorpion tank for exactly one Predator tank, then it's going to pay off. But honestly, Luvaskot, he needed the numbers advantage in this situation, and that's not going to be the case for him anymore. Huge amount of Scorpion tanks rolling through the middle of the map. It looks like the blue Tiberium is going to be the next contested item here for Luvaskot and Shock Treatment. And what do we have going on for tech for Luvaskot? He's got tier 2, no tier 3 just yet, at least not that I can see. It looks like there is an APC engineer here for Shock Treatment, just managed to catch that. Doesn't look like he's too interested in grabbing refineries. Could potentially be losing his APC engineer here if he tries to go for too much more. Those Scorpion tanks could potentially focus it down. It looks like he should be going down. No, actually may force the pack-up of the MCV. Actually, the Shredder turret comes out. It will be killing off both the APC as well as the engineer. Forces the pack-up of the MCV, but honestly, that's not too much to be lost. Shock Treatment, he's got a huge Pitbull army here rolling through the bottom of the map. He's going to be passing by unknowingly the bike buggy here, as well as the Scorpion tanks from Luvaskot. Luvaskot probably getting vision of this now. He's got a decent number of Scorpion tanks here in Shock Treatment. He doesn't want to commit into this. He's unfortunately a little bit overextended here and can't really fall back. You got to kind of try to trade effectively in this situation. He is going to try to cut and run, and Luvaskot, he's not going to give chase, interestingly enough. I mean, he could have kept up with those Pitbulls pretty easily and just out-traded him very, very easily, but decent number of rocket squads and Predator tanks rolling through the middle of the map here for Shock Treatment. He's already expanded into the middle, going to be looking to get his economy established on this middle green field. So actually no harvesters going to this blue Tiberium field. That's really, really interesting, seeing how heavily blue fields are usually contested in Kane's Wrath, but it doesn't look like that's going to be the case here in Tiberium Wars. But Scorpion tank's going to be facing off against rocket squads as well as Predator tanks, and this is a pretty scary looking force here for Shock Treatment. There's not a whole lot to deal with the rocket squads coming out from Luvaskot, so I mean, the only real answer that he has to it is going in for the crush, but they're mixed in so well with the Predator tanks that they're just going to get focused down so quickly. He's not going to be able to trade cost effectively enough. And we do have an obelisk being dropped on the front lines here for Luvaskot. Going to be trying to hold the line against this army, but honestly, the obelisk is focusing down infantry at this point in time, and it's really not what you want to be seeing coming out from an obelisk. And meanwhile, what else do we have coming out from Shock Treatment? He's putting the pressure on down in the south as well. He's focusing down some bikes. Actually, he's going to turn his turrets on the harvesters. Actually kind of firing all over the place. He's just trying to keep these Pitbulls alive. Yeah, there's really no focus fire coming out from these Pitbulls. More than likely, Shock Treatment is dealing with stuff elsewhere, but Shredder turret drops as well as Obelisk is going to be enough to force Shock Treatment to signal the retreat here for this army. Going to cut and run without losing too much more, and actually forces out an Obelisk drop here out of Luvaskot on his expansion. Looks like a Rifleman squad should get focused down there by a final shot from that Obelisk. And it's slowed down a little bit here. It looks like Shock Treatment is just going to continue to macro up here, as we do see Luvaskot. He's actually got the Dozer Blades upgrade, so obviously we have the Tier 3 out on the map, so not a bad idea to get those Dozer Blades, seeing how heavily invested he is in the Scorpion tanks. Wouldn't be terribly shocked to see laser capacitors either. Could be EMP coils. Honestly, that would be a pretty good upgrade in this situation. Raider buggies just drive them straight into the Predator tank army. EMP, and that would be lights out for all those Predator tanks. That's a pretty significant investment from Shock Treatment. But now we do have Juggernauts out on the field, and it's more than likely going to be infantry Juggernaut composition coming out from Shock Treatment at this point in time, with a couple of Pitbulls to harass on the backside of things. Scorpion tanks, they do finally get that laser capacitor upgrade as we're scrolling around with them, and they're going to be looking to roll into the expansion of Shock Treatment. Shock Treatment doesn't have any idea that this is coming. Maybe he does. It looks like he has a couple of forces going to be trying to rally down to this, but honestly, he could get easily focused down by these upgraded Scorpion tanks. And yeah, these Predator tanks are not going to be able to stand up to this number of Scorpion tanks, though the miss micro here from Luvaskot could be enough to actually even the score here. But no, the overwhelming number of these Scorpion tanks plus the 2 upgrades are going to be enough to focus down these Predator tanks, and they will win out over time. Trading a decent number of Scorpion tanks, though, in order to take that out. Meanwhile, we have avatars that have made their way across the middle of the map. It's going to be straying into this base. Oh, what is that going to be? Vapor Bomb comes off, but nice positioning there from Shock Treatment to get the majority of his infantry out of the way of the Vapor Bomb. So Luvaskot may be missing an opportunity to kill off the majority of the infantry. I don't know if he still has a stealth field, but that would have been a perfect opportunity to kill off all those infantry, as we did see him making that work really well against Shock Treatment in the last game. Did he actually do it this time around? No, he's got a decent number of militant squads, though. That's a lot of militant squads. They're going to be running forward here, but honestly, these juggernauts, they should be able to do quite a bit of damage here to these avatars, and just need to focus down the avatars straight away. And Juggernaut a little bit too far forward there. These juggernauts on the back line should be able to rain down a pretty good amount of damage. Honestly, the juggernauts could be focusing down the militant squads and just allow these rocket squads to focus down the avatars, but it looks like the avatars are totally laser focused on the juggernauts right now, and that's not a bad idea, as they should be able to focus them down. A couple of avatars going down there, one avatar, 2 avatars left, but they should be getting focused down by the remaining rocket squads as well as the juggernaut here from Shocktreatment. So looking like he should be able to hold the line with the assistance of the watchtower, and it's looking like Shocktreatment should be coming through, able to hold the line. Huge militant squad army coming forward there for Luvaskot, but now it looks like the upgraded Scorpion tanks have made their way all the way around the map. Not quite sure how they managed to get all the way up here, but going to be focusing down power plants and going to be looking to take out some infrastructure that's undefended at the moment. They have pretty good maneuverability for the amount of damage they do right now due to the fact that they have both upgrades. So the Scorpion tanks could potentially be a serious pain here for Shocktreatment, but they are in range of those juggernauts, so they need to be careful. One juggernaut does go down while it's focusing on the Scorpion tanks, but going to be trading that for an avatar. And it looks like Shocktreatment is actually going to be capitalizing on this time, going to be grabbing the avatars that are dropped on the front lines here for Luvaskot. So we have coming out from him as well. It looks like his main field has been completely cleaned up. His expansion has been completely cleaned up. Forces the sell-off of 2 refineries. Smart move there. It looks like Shocktreatment is going to camp out the blue field, as we do see Luvaskot has actually expanded to the middle. And he's not going to be able to harvest off of this field whatsoever, as we do see the pit bulls just completely camping out here. Now he's going to turn and fire on the refinery. Smart move. Going to be looking to take that out and just deny that that economy advantage from Luvaskot. Meanwhile, Shocktreatment, he's continuing to eco off of this field. He has a single refinery. Actually, no, he's got 2 refineries. He's got railguns now, too. That's a pretty significant thing to have at this point in the game, as that's going to be just making those tier 1 units in the form of Predator tanks so much more powerful, and then obviously Mammoth tanks even more so. Luvaskot, he's kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place here. He needs to get more economy, but he doesn't have any way of moving out, so Shocktreatment, he's got full control of the map right now. He should be able to roll through and really put some hurting onto Luvaskot. He does still have his MCV, so quite sure what Luvaskot sent to deal with those pit bulls. It looks like it was his Scorpion tanks to deal with the pit bulls, but meantime we do have infantry as well as artillery going to be rolling forward here for Shocktreatment. It looks like he doesn't want to commit into this, though. Maybe scared of the militant spam as well as the base defenses coming out from Luvaskot, but it is going to be the case here. Honestly, those artillery could be getting into range, but it doesn't look like he wants to overcommit. Maybe giving a little bit of respect here to Luvaskot, thinking that he could potentially have stealth tanks rolling around the map here. But now we have huge Predator tank spam coming out from Shocktreatment. I mean, obviously, once you get up to the railguns, those Predator tanks become so much more powerful, so it becomes a viable late-game option as well, because they're very inexpensive in comparison to a lot of higher damage Tier 3 units. You know, and you're able to spam them out in mass. And Tiberium Wars, honestly, the spam reigns supreme, what I've seen, and we'll have to see. Now these Predator tanks will be able to be easily shutting down these Scorpion tanks, even with both upgrades, but forces out a obelisk drop here from Luvaskot. Luvaskot actually going to call the GG here, even though he was moving across with an army, and that's going to be it. Game number 2 is going over to Shocktreatment. So honestly, I didn't think that Luvaskot was out of it just yet, but maybe just giving respect to the fact that Shocktreatment wasn't going to give up a pretty significant lead there, as we did see him with a decent resource lead at the end of the game. You can see they were pretty neck and neck, as we did see Luvaskot actually starting to catch up towards the mid-game, about the 10-minute mark or so, and then Shocktreatment just managed to capitalize by going up and over the top by grabbing that green field in the middle of the map and preventing Luvaskot from harvesting off of the blue Tiberium field. If Luvaskot had been able to grab that blue Tiberium field, I think that would have been a very, very different game. So nice read there from Shocktreatment to deny that. But anyways, that's going to be bringing us to game number 3, everybody, and that's going to be coming up momentarily, so be sure to stick around. Hello everybody and welcome to game number 3 of this best of 7 final series, and that brings us to the map Tournament Dust Bowl. And spawning in the top of the map, the man that's down 0-2 in this series as the orange GDI, we have Luvaskot. And sliding on down to the bottom of the map, it's up 2-0 so far as the pink scrin, we have Shocktreatment. So Shocktreatment, he's up 2-0. It is a best of 7 series, so he still has to pick up 2 more wins in order to secure himself a victory overall. But Luvaskot, he's got some work ahead of him. I mean, he's got to take 4 games off of Shocktreatment here, and if he drops another game, then it's going to put him potentially in an ace match situation here. So he's probably feeling the pressure at the moment, as it's looking like it's going to be a early game APC engineer move here out of Luvaskot. Not terribly shocking, should be able to grab himself both of the Tiberium spikes without any trouble whatsoever. He grabs himself 2 foxholes here just to secure this as well, and that engineer should be able to grab that Tiberium spike no problem. Shocktreatment not actually opening up with any engineers or portals for that matter, and just going to be ecoing super hardcore as he's already got 4 refineries out on the field, going for that early game foundry here. And he's looking very, very good so far. I mean, 4 refineries out on the field. I think he's got 5 harvesters in total. Yeah, it looks like that's the case. So that's a lot of harvesting at the moment, and should be giving him a pretty good cash boost so far. But honestly, if Luvaskot is able to continue to hold on to those Tiberium spikes, he's going to be in a pretty good situation overall. We have going on here, it looks like a rifleman squad has made its way into the base of Shocktreatment, so Luvaskot going to be getting good eyes on what's going on down here, and just seeing that Shocktreatment's just ecoing. Don't have too much to be worried about. Do have an APC, could be an APC engineer. Yeah, it's going to be rolling through here for Luvaskot. May actually force the pack up of the drone ship. That would be... No, there's nothing actually being produced off of that drone ship for the time being. It's just a base defense. Should actually drop that base defense. Wow! Incredible micro coming out from Luvaskot. Immediately drops off that engineer, grabs himself the drone ship. I didn't even see that engineer pop out of that. Wow, that was insanely fast. So Luvaskot grabs himself the drone ship of Shocktreatment, and that's going to be a huge loss for him. I mean, Shocktreatment, he was more than likely focusing on what was going on here on the right-hand side, but looks like another APC engineer was actually killed off. Don't know what else it managed to grab, but looks like it did force a sell-off of a gravity stabilizer, if nothing else. That APC is actually going to chase down a buzzer squad there, as he's going to try to just get some more value for his APC dollar there. Actually, we do have a buzzer from Luvaskot going to be moving around the map. So, man, the pain has been put onto Shocktreatment here for his early game move. Now, we'll have to see if Luvaskot can capitalize on that by putting the pressure on a little bit more heavy as we go through this game. It's looking like it's going to be just straight up APC engineer spam coming out from him so far. We do have another one coming out, and we do have a drone ship out for Shocktreatment, so he's not out of this game yet despite losing that drone ship early on, and he's actually managed to grab himself a Tiberium spike as well. So Shocktreatment, he's got plenty of economy at the moment as far as refining goes. He does not have a lot in the way of unit production, as I think he's only got a gravity stabilizer and a warp chasm, or rather a warp sphere, to be more specific, as we do see only a couple of secret tanks rolling through the middle of the map. I think there's about a half dozen or so, looking like they're just trying to deal with any APC engineers that may be rolling around at this point in time. But this APC engineer has been spotted. It's actually taking damage from the rear armor, and he's looking like he may try to grab a capture on that Tiberium spike, but does not de-garrison in time. So that engineer does go down. APC engineer no longer a threat there. Predator tanks coming out for Luvaskot now, so Scott, he hasn't done a lot here in order to reinforce his early game advantage. We do see rifleman squads coming out for Luvaskot as well, so it's looking like it's maybe going to be Predator tanks joined by rifleman squads for support. That wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. A couple of pit bulls rolling through here as well, so it's looking like Luvaskot doesn't want to allow Shocktreatment the time to recover here, as he wants to put the pressure on. Extractor placement, buddy. That was probably not what you had in mind, as he faces it the wrong direction. So as you can see, folks, even Shocktreatment can make rookie mistakes like that as when you're in the heat of battle. So don't feel bad if you do it yourself from time to time. I know I do it all the time, but all the same, Shocktreatment not really being touched on his other 2 fields here, as he's being allowed to harvest pretty happily. Looks like Shocktreatment does have a decent number of secret tanks that are returning from an attempted harassment run here on the expansion of Luvaskot, but not able to do too much, as we do have a couple of war factories here from Luvaskot to actually hold the line. Tripod's coming out. Tier 3 is done for shock treatment, so he's managed to tech up pretty quickly considering that he was behind in terms of having his MCV lost there, but recovered very, very quickly. He was smart enough to get out a gravity stabilizer very quickly as well in order to get that reproduced, so smart move there. Shock treatment looking pretty good so far in this game. He does have a mastermind out on the field as well. Actually drops down another warp sphere here, so lots of production coming out from shock treatment so far. That looks like the that mastermind actually running through the middle. Actually surprisingly tanky considering that's rifle damage, and he's actually going to be forced to run back. Should be able to get repairs from the warp sphere here, and should be able to hold the line no problem. Storm column being dropped here from shock treatment. Now the onus is on him to hold the line against this infantry and predator tank push here from Luvaskot. Should be able to do that with ease, as we do see tier 3 spam coming out from shock treatment in the form of the shock troopers as well as tripods, with the storm column for some added assurance. Be able to hold the defense, be able to hold the line pretty easily. We did hear a teleport coming out from that mastermind. Not quite sure what it teleported though. Anyways, let's take a look on the left hand side. Actually, the Seeker tank's doing massive damage to that MCV. Will it be going down? No, it probably won't be, as we do see the barracks being dropped on the backlines. It's going to be close. It's going to be close. And the MCV does go down. Luvaskot not able to get that engineer out in time. And the great lightning spike placement just denying that engineer from actually getting in too close. And that's actually a really good pickup there for shock treatment. He's going to cut away with the remainder of those Seeker tanks. So great move from shock treatment. Manages to take out the MCV from Luvaskot. So despite Luvaskot getting the early game capture of the MCV as well as forcing a sell off of a gravity stabilizer, I mean, shock treatment's starting to eco out of control here, as we see this eco advantage really starting to pay off. He's completely mined out his 2 original main fields and is already about a good third, maybe even a halfway through his next expansion. Flip side of that, Luvaskot hasn't gotten any economy off of this field whatsoever. We're actually seeing shock treatment long distance harvesting this as well. More than likely going to be going down, as we see the tier 1 army here from Luvaskot going to be rolling forward. But it's going to be meeting up against the tier 3 army here of shock treatment, but not a whole lot here in the way of anti-infantry. Maybe needing to see the Buzzer Swarm support power coming in to deal with this, but I don't know that it's necessarily available for shock treatment at this point in time. And honestly, losing a decent number of tripods, those are very expensive units, and you don't want to be losing them at this point in time. Another teleport came in, or maybe that was an area mind control, I'm not quite sure. I know the sound, but I'm not quite sure what it goes to. Oh, where is that mastermind? Oh, what happened to the mastermind? I just heard it a second ago, but I don't see it. So it may have gone down, I'm not quite sure, but all the same, we do have Devastator warships sitting on the backlines trying to focus down this infantry. Actually do quite a nice job of killing off infantry at that, but need to be careful. They're getting a little bit too close as the infantry are continuing to push forward. Another harvester going to be going down here, so Luvaskot actually looking not too bad here, as he's actually going to have to force to fall back here with the Predator tanks as they're taking too much damage from these tripods. Now the tripods actually getting focused down here by the rocket squads. Tripods are actually surprisingly effective against infantry, and joined by Devastator warships. That one Devastator warship took out like 5 or 6 rocket squads. That was pretty devastating. Forgive the pun, that was actually not intended. As we do see the Mastermind's actually just sitting here on the front lines and just saying, hey, I'll just wait for this cooldown on the mind control, and I'm just going to grab something and force you to kill it off. And surprisingly enough, Luvaskot going to call the GG, and that's going to be it. Shock Treatment is actually up 3-0 in this best of 7 series. Okay, so Shock Treatment, I mean, I don't know. That game looked like it could have gone either way for a pretty good portion of it, but Shock Treatment, he was cool, calm, and collected under pressure there, as he did lose his drone ship, but able to rebuild it straight away and get back to work. Able to make that early game eco move really pay dividends. As we can see, he was just out-ecoing Luvaskot for the entire course of the game, despite losing that drone ship. So very nice move from Shock Treatment to secure himself another victory. He is at match point. And that's going to be coming up in game number 4. That's coming up right now, everybody, so be sure to stick around. Alright, everybody, in game number 4 brings us to the map Small Town, USA. And spawning down in the bottom left corner as the pink screen, we have Shocktreatment. And then the man that is playing for his position here in these finals, as he is down 0-3 in this best of 7 series as the red screen, we have Luvaskot. So this is game number 4. It's game point here for Shocktreatment. He just needs to pick up one more victory and he is done, claiming the victory in this July 2015 random-only tournament. And Luvaskot, the onus is on him here to make sure that that does not happen. He needs to pick up 4 games, essentially the reverse all-kill. And it's definitely a possibility. We won't count it out, but not quite sure, just based on how this matchup has gone so far for him. He's been outplayed here by Shocktreatment in a number of situations, and we'll have to see if maybe he can pull something out here in Small Town, USA. It's going to be a screen mirror matchup. I don't know that we've seen this yet today. I think we have, but we've seen a lot of screen today, surprisingly enough. Not a whole lot of nod. So actually, it's kind of nice. It's kind of refreshing, interestingly enough. Shocktreatment going for a massive eco move here, as he did in the last game. It paid off really well for him there, and it's looking like he's going to go for the same style of game this time around. And Luvaskot, he's going for a similar build here, so it's going to be straight eco for both players by the looks of it. And maybe if one scouts the other, they're going to say, hey, well, maybe I can punish this early game move here by the other player, but I don't know. I think they're going to both be content with going for that really, really heavy eco. Just get themselves established and then try to outtrade one another a little bit later on. But Shocktreatment a little bit quicker on getting his expansion up and running. He's already got a warp sphere down as well as an extractor on this green field, whereas Luvaskot, he's a little bit slower. He hasn't necessarily got down. He's actually gone for a tier 2, so maybe not a little bit slower. He's just gone for a different build. You see that tier 2 down first and foremost. Warp sphere actually out for Luvaskot at the time we're talking about here, so actually going to be a nerve center into a warp sphere for him as opposed to a refinery, so a little bit slower on getting his economy established. But Shocktreatment, he's already got an expansion as far as double warp sphere on his expansion goes, and he's going to be looking to come in here and do some harvester harassment. And there's really no response coming out from Luvaskot, so could punish this pretty hard here, this early game move to go for that tier 2 straight away. And we do have disintegrators coming out on the front lines. There's not a whole lot here in terms of anti-infantry for Shocktreatment. By that I mean I don't think he has anything. Actually, these Seeker tanks doing a nice job of focusing down the disintegrators, surprisingly enough. They're in low enough numbers where it's not really much of an issue for him, but now it's getting a little bit messy. We do have more disintegrators coming out on the front lines, but again, Shocktreatment is just out trading at this point in time. We do have an assimilator. It looks like it's going to go for a capture on the Tiberium spike. We do have Buzzer Swarm support power. It sounds like it was called in. I don't know that it actually was, though. We do have Gunwalkers rolling forward here for Shocktreatment as well. This is looking very bad for Luvaskot. I mean, could this be game number 4, and could this be it? I mean, he hasn't even put up a fight here. He went for tier 2, but he just can't produce off of it. He doesn't have a warp sphere here. Oh, what is he going to do? He's actually got tier 3. What is he going to do? Is he queuing a storm column? He must be queuing a storm column. Taking a long time to produce, though. Quite know what his plan is. I mean, he's got economy established on his expansion. He's not out of the game yet, but he's just trading so cost ineffectively. I don't know that he's going to be able to stay alive. Tier 3 is still around for Luvaskot. And Shocktreatment, his forces are starting to dwindle, but if he's able to kill off those harvesters, that's actually going to be a pretty good pickup. Phase field comes off, storm column comes down, going to be able to keep those harvesters alive. One harvester that's unfazed will be getting focused down. It's actually going to be forced to be pulled off the line. Nice move there from Luvaskot to actually pull that off the line. And now the repair drones not going to be able to really do their job, as all of these forces here from Shocktreatment are actually pulled off of the front lines. But honestly, he's done a lot of damage here. But Luvaskot, he's got tier 3. He's got tripods coming out as well. Does Shocktreatment have? He's got tier 3 as well. Has a couple of tripods already out on the map. More than likely producing a mastermind. That comes out right as we speak. And that's going to be a pretty significant threat here for Luvaskot, as I don't think he has a mastermind of his own to speak of yet. More than likely producing an assimilator here to get his Tiberium spike back. Rift generator comes down for Shocktreatment. The first super weapon we've seen today so far, so he's putting the clock on Luvaskot. Says, hey, I got a lot of economy, I've got a decent sized army, now the onus is on you to deal with my rift generator. It goes to about 6.5 minutes or so longer. It's going to be a lot of pain coming out on Luvaskot. Actually forces the sell up of the Warp Sphere there. Preemptive sell. Oh, Buzzer Swarm's Port Power comes in, immediately kills the Mastermind. So actually a pretty good trade there for Luvaskot, trading a Mastermind for a Warp Sphere sell-off, as well as a Buzzer Swarm support power. But now we have the tripods coming forward from Shocktreatment, but great stasis shield coming out from Luvaskot. Going to be able to lock down all 4 of them. Going to be able to buy himself a little bit of time. It looks like he is harassing on the other side of the map as he's actually sending his tripods back. Oh, I don't know about this. I mean, he could have easily killed this base. Oh, I don't know about this. I mean, he's not going to get back into range before that stasis shield wears off, and Shocktreatment's just going to reinforce this. I think this is a missed opportunity here for Luvaskot. He locked down those tripods very, very well, and now these 2 storm columns, well, they won't be able to hold the lines. Shocktreatment's now got the shielded tripods, and that's going to be able to withstand a lot more damage than these unshielded ones. One does go down, but another Mastermind is out on the field for Shocktreatment. Could potentially go around and get a snipe on the tier 3 if he goes all the way out and around. Looks like he may try to come in and grab himself a tripod and just make this fight go a little bit easier for him. Actually, no, he teleports in a simulator. He's going to grab himself the Tiberium Spike back. Actually gets a kill on the assimilator of Luvaskot. So Shocktreatment, he's absolutely punishing Luvaskot right now. 5 minutes still left on the Rift Generator, and Luvaskot doesn't look like he has the ability to really put any counter pressure on, as even if he had equal numbers of tripods, he would not be able to withstand the damage output because the tripods from Shocktreatment have those shields. Now there are some shock troopers actually being teleported forward, so Mastermind actually being used as more or less a teleport platform for Shocktreatment. And now he's just going to continue to press his advantage, going to try to get some more infrastructure damage, takes out a refinery here. Every building lost is pretty significant here for Luvaskot. Buzzer Swarm support power comes in, gets himself a snipe on Luvaskot's Mastermind. This could be it. This is probably going to be the last fight, as we're seeing it getting pretty messy here as Shocktreatment is focusing down the remainder of these tripods. Tripod v tripod, that's a pretty cool look, as we do see Luvaskot getting focused down. And we'll go ahead and pull our mini-map back up and get squared back away here. But Shocktreatment, he's managed to focus down the majority of this army. He does still have his Mastermind on the backlines as well. What else do we have coming out from Luvaskot? He does still have his tier 3. But GG coming in from Luvaskot, and that's going to be it. Shocktreatment wins this tournament and the finals 4-0. So nothing much more to say than great turnout here from Shocktreatment. I mean, Luvaskot, he was looking on point throughout the majority of the day here today, but just not able to come through with a victory in any of these games. And Shocktreatment just dispatches him 4-0 here in the finals. So great showing here from both players, but absolute congratulations goes out to Shocktreatment. Showed up and really performed well today, putting down Luvaskot, a worthy contender here, 4-0. So with that said, that's going to be wrapping us up for the day. We saw a decent number of games here today. I think we got to see both semifinals. The beginning was a little bit shaky as far as which games and series we got to see, but ended up turning out being a pretty good tournament overall. And with that said, we do see Shocktreatment coming out on top. So I believe the overall was Shocktreatment coming out as first, Luvaskot coming out second, and I don't know if the third place match was played, but we did have both AdamLallana as well as who was the other one? Let me see. Sjon, S-J-O-N. He was the other player that was potentially contending for that third place match. So not sure if that third place match was played, but all the same, a good showing from everybody that played here today. We saw some very interesting builds, some very interesting moves from players as far as like APC engineer captures and things like that. So great set of games here today and a great tournament overall. I hope you guys have all enjoyed the cast for today. I know we had some technical issues. Like I said, I'm dealing with some hotkey issues as far as not being prepared for it. I did not realize that both OBS and my iTunes have overlapping hotkeys, so I kind of moved things around and it screwed with the rest of my production, and it's just like, okay, I'll just try to roll with it, and it ended up with a couple of follies as far as the production went. But all the same, it was a pretty good turnout. Actually, a pretty solid turnout, as I think we've got 45 concurrent viewers right now at the end of this tournament. It was a pretty good set of matches. Hope you guys have all enjoyed it. And with that said, that's going to be it for me today here, everybody. I want to give a big thanks to everybody that played in the tournament, as well as all of you at home watching. It has been a great set of games, and once again, a big congratulations goes out to Shocktreatment. We also have to say a big thank you to all the Game Replays admins that were here helping things out, or rather Game Replays staff, as we did have Toxic Shock, Monster Tamer, Angel of Death, Shocktreatment himself, who is a member of staff, as well as YT Chassis 600 full. So good effort on everybody there for helping out with the event. It ran pretty smoothly, and we had a pretty good turnout overall. But all the same, that's going to be it for me today, everybody. I hope you guys have all enjoyed the cast. And if you guys did enjoy this, be sure to join me tomorrow at 1200 GMT. That's right. Tomorrow, July 12th, 2015 at 1200 GMT, we will be casting the Kane's Wrath 1 vs. 1 community tournament, and that should be a pretty good set of games. So if you guys have all had fun here today, be sure to join me for tomorrow. And with that said, that's going to be it for me today, everybody. Thank you all very much for watching, and we'll catch you all next time.